Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, November 12th, 9:02, and I will call this meeting to order. And I will start off with the roll call. Ag Commission Vice Chair Jeff,
Present.
Commission Member Catherine,
Yep, online.
Commission Member David Block, Commission Member Dr. Amanda Weaver.
Probably on her way in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commission Member Elena Miller Cooley. Commission Member Harrison Top.
Present online.
Okay. Commission Member Nick Trainer. Commission Member Colleen Pepler.
Present online.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining today's Ag Commission meeting. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation. Today's meeting is being recorded and can be viewed online on CDA's YouTube channel. The public can join today's Ag Commission meeting through the Zoom webinar. Before we proceed, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Each time you speak, please identify yourself. Moving forward, we will proceed with the approval of the meeting agenda.
This is Catherine Bedell. I move that we approve the meeting agenda for today, November 11th, 12th. 13th? What day are we on?
We are 12. Going
Okay.
quick. Motion made by Catherine. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Jeff McCullough.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Thank you. None seen, motion carried. Okay, moving on to approval of September meeting minutes.
Chairman, this is Colleen. I move that we approve the reading of the minutes of the September meeting.
Thank you, Colleen. Motion made by Colleen. Do I have a second?
This is Catherine Bedell. I second.
Okay, second by Catherine. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carried. Next item for public comment. At this time, the public has the opportunity to address any issues that they like to address with the commission. Each member has 3 minutes to speak. As we move to open the meeting to public comment, please remember to introduce yourself and speak slowly and clearly. Your name will be called when it is your turn to comment, and the host will unmute your line. We are now opening the meeting to public comment. Is there anybody in the queue for public comment at this time? Okay,
And
Yes, ma'am.
Amanda and Elena are here.
okay. Good morning,
Good morning.
Amanda.
My apologies.
No worries, we just started. Good morning, Elena. Okay, moving on to Commissioner Kate Greenberg update.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair,
Thank
and
you.
welcome to Broomfield, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the trek from near and far. And great seeing you all online. The camera's here, but we see your faces up there, so why I'm turning this direction. This is our annual meeting, and we have a great agenda for you, as you all see, but I'll just, as usual, kind of give you my 30,000-foot view of what we've been up to. With the hopes of not being overly redundant with what Hollis and Jordan and Robert and others will be sharing throughout the course of the morning. But of course, plenty going on since we last saw each other in September. I first want to thank Amanda for a great farm tour last night at Five Fridges. We also hosted some of our CDA staff, or Amanda did, to talk urban ag and kind of where we're going with our work there. Morning, Evan. God, another great sweater. And so just really fantastic to see the amazing work Amanda's been doing on conserved property in the heart of Wheat Ridge. And be able to connect that to the work we've been trying to build around urban ag and supporting our urban producers across the state. So just kind of looking back over the year of our Ag Commission meetings, it was in March that we were in Toyac, where Simon hosted us. Toyac and Cortez, got to tour Mountain Ute Farm and Ranch Enterprise. I'm sure the wind was blowing, and we got a good feel for the Southwest in March. Dolores Water Conservancy District hosted us, and we had our public forum at Fozzie's Farm up near Lewis. July, we were in Rifle. This was before the West Slope fires broke out, so we actually visited the High Lonesome Ranch, which was just on the outskirts, I believe, of the fire's path, but pretty timely in not a great way for us to be there, but to see what that landscape was like, and then to know what those communities were dealing with the wildfire season that we had, pretty isolated up in that northwest corner. And then with our public forum in Rifle and time into back, just really good West Slope time. Of course, we also celebrated our 80th anniversary of the Insectary in Palisade in August, and many of you were out there. Really fantastic time celebrating the work of biocontrol and using good bugs to do great work, which was our tagline, which I hope lasts for a long time, because it's true, and it's really a fantastic service that our department is able to provide that doesn't usually get a lot of attention, but of course, in the last few years, we've been trying to change that and really use the Insectary to connect people to agriculture and conservation and the work that we get to do really across the West and many other parts of the world as well. And then, of course, being here and getting to see some Front Range agriculture yesterday afternoon, beautiful evening to be out. And then I know all of you are out in your communities. We get updates in between meetings from you about where you've been, who you're talking to, just the ways that the commission and our RACs show up in community. And again, just appreciate how much you all are present, that folks know that they have our Ag Commission members to lean on, and that you all don't hesitate to call us when you're hearing things on the ground or things need to be resolved or worked through. Just really appreciate all the open lines of communication. Moving on to kind of updates from the department. I believe, I can't quite remember if our September meeting was before or after Mexico City. But Catherine and I had a great 3 days in Mexico City leading a group of cattle women from Colorado. So Dr. Baldwin was also on the mission. We had cattlemen's represented, and then the other delegates all serve on CDA boards and commissions, so have that statewide leadership as well. 3 days meeting with federal government colleagues down in Mexico, with national ag associations, and we were invited by MUGAM, which is translated to women, it's basically women ranchers of Mexico. So the cattle women invited us to come and hosted us for those days as well. So just a fantastic time. I believe Catherine and others have follow-up trips to Mexico. Our goal was to facilitate business, number one. So there's been a lot of that churning after the event. Of course, to elevate the roles of women in leadership in agriculture. And then we also tackled issues like New World screwworm and how Mexico and the US are partnering to deal with that. Catherine, anything to add on your end?
No, it was a great trip, and we sure met lots of people and learned a lot about the screwworm incidents down in Mexico. And there's been a lot now in the United States about how to look out for that. So that's great to see. But no, it was a great trip, well scheduled, and we were sure busy.
Absolutely. So that's, part of our first wildly important goal is advancing market access for producers at home and abroad. So that was one example of lots of the international work going on. Of course, our international team continues to travel the globe and do business for Colorado food and ag businesses. In addition, our local foods team has been busy at work, very busy, just given what's been going on kind of in the broader national landscape. Our community food access program is doing a fantastic job, kind of rolling with the tides with the cancellation of SNAP. Even though we don't operate SNAP and the nutrition programs, it hits a lot of our rural retailers who rely on SNAP for a huge portion of their consumer base, and of course, all the producers who rely on SNAP for a portion of their revenue and consumer base have been hit hard by these cuts. Not only have we had cuts to SNAP, but of course, just incredible uncertainty. Is it going to be funded at all? Is the state going to be wholly responsible? And then, of course, you get partial payments, and then the courts getting involved, and kind of a battle there as well. So lots of uncertainty in the nutrition landscape. Again, even though we don't run those programs, we care a lot about the work both for people being able to access food and the businesses who rely on those programs. So our community food access team has just done an incredible job being part of that conversation. And Jordan will talk a little bit about what's on the horizon for us there, just again, to do our part as much as we can on nutrition access and local market access as well. On the stewardship front, our second wildly important goal around advancing soil, water, and climate stewardship. Again, we'll have some more detailed updates on some of our programs with Evan here, and I think some of Hollis's updates and what we're looking at for next year as well. But on the federal side, y'all remember many years ago, we received the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities grant, $25 million for Colorado producers to advance soil health and market access as it relates to their stewardship. We were 2 years into that 4-year grant when the USDA terminated the grant, and they terminated the whole program. So the remainder of our funding was terminated. They then created kind of a new program called Advancing Markets for Producers, which had a lot of the similar tenets, but we had to reapply. So we have since reapplied. The government is still shut down, but our application is sitting on somebody's virtual desk when they come back. So, you know, as you all know, Colorado is open for business. We have not hit pause whatsoever with the shutdown, but our kind of timeline is dependent upon when the government reopens and when our federal colleagues are able to come back to work. So just know that we are putting in for that. That would be about $15 million. So the remainder of our 25 million, the vast majority of which is for producers to do soil health and market access work. Unfortunately, we missed a growing season for that, but we're hopeful we can get back on track for next year. So we'll keep you all apprised as to that. And just a huge shout out to Evan and her team, not only navigating, just like our community food access team, lots of federal turmoil, but really keeping eyes on the prize with our state level work, especially with the launch of our ag stewardship tax credit 2 days ago, which has since closed. It closed within 2 hours of us opening it, and Evan can probably update us more. Do you want to give us a quick update, Evan, on where we're at on that?
Yeah, so first of all the kudos goes to my team. They worked really hard to make the online platform ready to go and seamless. There was so many phone calls from 7 in the morning to 7 at night of my staff connecting with farmers individually to help them feel confident and prepared to have their application ready to go, because we knew as the statute was written, it was first come, first serve. We knew it was going to be oversubscribed. And even though we knew that, we were still shocked that, and this, I think this is good to share with all of you, but I think it almost breaks my heart to have to share it with the applicants, that we maxed out not only this year's $3 million of tax credits, but also next year's wait list of 2 million within less than 2 minutes. 1 minute and 52 seconds it took for us to max out our funding. And so within 2 hours, we closed the application altogether. Again, there was way more than that. I think in total we had like $9.7 million in requests within that two-hour window. And of course we kept some of the ones that were after the 2 minutes, because there will be a review process, of course, and there's a potential that some of those folks after that 2-minute mark may end up on the wait list perhaps for next year. But again, I think in my positive mind, it speaks to the fact that we all already know. Our producers in our state are inclined to do stewardship practices. They're inclined to take care of their land. Like, we knew this. And so for the state to put money towards that in the form of the tax credit was, I think, a really valuable investment. And also, you know, not enough to meet the demand that is clearly out there. So our team will now be working through that review process. And like I said, I think the sad part of that news is just, I think of my neighbors who have a hard time getting the computer to turn on. And I think of the disadvantage of, again, that first come, first served structure that it does put on the people who maybe, they can't click that button quite fast enough. So wins and learning moments and perhaps areas to improve, but bottom line, the service was just exceptional from the team to do their very darndest to make sure. And even in the preliminary sort of data breakdowns, and if you have curiosities about what data you want to know from those applications, as far as like what practices were most popular, where we can run reports for all of that, and we really want to, because we want to learn from all the applications that came in. But even from the beginning, the vast majority of the applications were for under $50,000. And we had applications all the way up to the cap. So I think we really saw the breadth of and scale of our agriculture represented. So overall, a big success.
Yeah, and just to emphasize 2 points, I mean, I think the fact that we were at capacity in under 2 minutes says a lot about the team's outreach, which, we wanted to make sure that nobody was at a disadvantage for lack of knowing this first ever program was launching. The second is the service. I mean, we've heard just stories of Evan's team going above and beyond, answering phone calls every time of day, answering individual questions, hosting webinars, just again, the outreach, but also picking up the phone, being on the other end of the line. As you all know, customer service, excellence in business service is our 5th pillar of our strategic plan. So we are holding ourselves accountable for things like this so that you all know that CDA is here to do business in earnest, and you get somebody on the other end of the line who can help you with what you need. So just hats off to really excelling there to your team. Any questions on tax credit or anything going on the stewardship side, soil health?
I have a little question about the process. How did it only take 2 minutes? I don't think I quite understand. Was it a computer selecting an algorithm or what?
So what happened was that the application itself was available in advance so that folks could have everything prepared, because there's, you have to map out your parcels and you have to put in all your information. The reason for the quick turnaround is how it's written in statute is on a first come, first served basis. So how they had it is that the final step was you do an attestation form, which is essentially you sign. Like, everything I've done is true and correct. They sign it, they click submit, and it opened at exactly 10 a.m. on Monday, November 10th. So at 10 a.m. on November 10th, everyone had their applications ready to go, and they signed the thing, they clicked submit, and within that 2-minute mark, we had maxed out the funding.
Thank you.
What will the review process look like for the application?
Yeah, so obviously the team will be looking through if it's actually a qualified operation, if they are indeed, as per statute, of farm and a ranch, it'll be eliminating applications that don't meet the requirements. And then from there, it's, they're gonna go through and review the proposed plans. Like, for example, if they say they're gonna be doing rotational grazing, is on that parcel, is there in fact grazing? Is there in fact an operation with cattle? So it's verification of, is this a feasible plan? And if it is, they'll be awarded, it's a certificate, but then we have additional verification that'll come after that. We have staff who will be going out onto fields to verify the practices. Folks are able to say, I will have completed this no-till overseeding by X date. We'll coordinate with the applicants, send someone out. We can do, they can submit satellite imagery if they want to do the verification on their own end. So I think there'll be a couple layers of verification.
Very good.
And yeah, Harrison.
This is not specifically germane to this, but is it generally customary for tax credits to be done on a first come, first serve basis? More of a civics lesson than a question germane to this, or is it depend statute to statute?
Yeah, I can take that, Harrison. And it depends statute to statute, but it is very common for it to be first come, first served basis. Because
Interesting.
typically tax credits differ from grant programs a little bit in terms of, again, it's kind of a set criteria that's known ahead of time, and if you meet that criteria, you automatically qualify. And so anybody who qualifies can get the credit, and so the first come, first serve is essentially how you determine who gets the credit versus like grant programs where it's you're weighing all the applications against one another and saying these are the best applications, and so they're the ones that are getting funding.
Okay, that all makes sense. Thank you.
And to our knowledge, this is the first such program in the country, right? That's run by a state. So we are really figuring out for the first time with the statute that was given us. And I think to Evan's point, just taking in all the input we can from how this goes, and then just like every program, making sure we're building it to be relevant, equitable, you know, accessible for folks to actually make a difference on their operations. Thanks, Evan. I've got some more updates if I can keep going. On my market update, I forgot to talk about tariffs and beef issues. So those two things have been front and center for us as well. I think, as you all know, the governor has been very forthright about the negative impacts of tariffs on all sectors of the economy. Certainly the cost of living and the cost for consumers that we're seeing going up, but certainly the impact on ag. So we have been digging into what those impacts might look like. Of course, another very uncertain and shifting landscape, but just know that we are paying attention and open ears on kind of what you all are experiencing in the field from your business standpoint. In addition, there were some interesting announcements on beef a couple weeks ago and Argentinian imports. So something that we are also been engaged in, especially from what such an announcement did to the market, much more so than sort of the quantity of beef that is looking to get imported. But, I think we've all kind of been following those two things in various ways, and just know that we are, and our markets team are on that as well. So always happy to answer any questions there. Moving on to our third wildly important goal around supporting next generation in ag, just incredible work across the department as always, engaging young people. Our ag workforce development program, modeled after what George and Julie have built for years through the new agrarian program, has reached over 240 young people since 2019 when was our first season paying for those internships, and just seeing incredible experiences and retention for folks in ag. So lots of updates there. And just as a side note, I'm just giving you high level right now, not getting into numbers, but Hollis is laughing because he might be getting into some of these numbers, but we also have an end of year report, and we're getting ready for our SMART Act hearing where we will have lots of detail of, what were our metrics, et cetera. So I won't get into those details here now. But we also are, and Jordan will touch on some of our legislative package that kind of gets at our next gen work and land access as well. Fourth, wildly important goal around animal health and welfare. We touched a little bit on New World screwworm, around foreign animal disease writ large. Dr. Baldwin, again, is just always many steps ahead of where we could be. And so very grateful for her and her ability to see down the road. So even with the government shutdown, we have been moving forward with the New World screwworm tabletop exercise with as many partners as we can get, even though things like screwworm are a USDA federal-led response. If we were to get a detection on US soil, it's all hands on deck, and we do not want to be resting on our heels, waiting for direction from above. So we have been very much leaning into preparation for if and when this happens, which of course has massive implications for the American cattle industry, as we're seeing with the Mexican cattle industry and the closure of the border due to screwworm. So very much front and center. HighPath AI, we've actually been working with USDA to the extent we can right now on adapting some of the existing federal regulations around HighPath AI response. And George, something that you have brought up many times over the years around the requirements for depopulation on a poultry facility, when there is high path AI detected, it is every barn has to go regardless of detection. We have finally, after years of trying to move this, received the green light to work on we're calling a split premise model, where you can look at actually how certain facilities can distinguish their physical facilities section by section, so that you've got 60 barns, one barn's affected, you don't have to get all the other 59 included in that. So, but it really depends on infrastructure, personnel, operations, if that split premise model is going to be approved by the USDA. But we're grateful and hopeful that we'll have a path forward to lessen the impact of those affected premises on the birds, on the business, on the humans who have to do that work. So we've really just been focused, especially as we have a lull in this 3-year outbreak right now. It is heated up in Europe, and we expect another, we've seen an uptick in the Midwest with the fall migration. Would not be surprised if we had, something happen at any point in time, honestly, given the year-round nature of this outbreak. But we're really trying to get ahead of the next upswing on the policy side and have some more flexibility for how we approach this. And then lastly, on animal health, just last week, we announced the signing of an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, between CDA, Parks and Wildlife, and the Colorado Department of Health and Environment on how we essentially advance One Health through all of our various jurisdictions around animal, human, and environmental health. The idea of One Health is those three all go together to have just a much more holistic response to matters of disease and health overall. And the MOU is really focused on data privacy and protecting those individuals who might be implicated in or affected by, I should say, any sort of disease outbreak. And of course, we've also seen, and I think High Path is a great example of when all of us need to be on board. Last summer, when we had all of our major poultry facilities affected, most of our commercial dairies, 10 human cases of High Path reported in Colorado, and wild, not just bird, but mammal and other species populations affected at the same time. We are already co-responding across agencies, but we want to make sure that siloing is not standing in the way of good response and quick response. So just really grateful for the leadership there. And then lastly, on 2 more things on animal health and welfare WIG. I'll talk quickly about one of our WIGs this coming year is actually a shared WIG between Brands Division and Division of Animal Welfare. And we're actually creating continuing education courses in both brand law and animal welfare law for DAs, for brand inspectors, for sheriff's offices, for all the folks who might be responding in any one of those kind of jurisdictions. So just love the partnership between the 2 divisions and the work happening there. And then also in Dr. Baldwin's shop is our non-lethal conflict mitigation program, especially built for wolf reintroduction. We are just a little over a year into having our full team. So Wayne East, who's under Maggie, has been building this program and this work. And we have Dustin Shiflett, who's our program manager out on the West Slope, and then Shelby Nyberger and Jesse Lassiter, who are our range riders. And they have been in the field night and day, alone on the range, all season long. Just incredible work they've been doing. Not just mitigating conflict, but also calling the rancher and saying, hey, I don't think your cows are supposed to be in that drainage, or you want me to do something about that. So also just being eyes and ears on the range when folks can't be everywhere and there's more variables out there. We are now that it's kind of post-range season, getting ready for next year. Obviously a focus on calving and lambing and a lot of education there. We'll be doing another multi-day non-lethal conflict mitigation training in April with many of the contracted range riders and partners there, getting ready for next season. So just again, a lot of great work. Any questions from the commission on any of our animal health and welfare work or comments? Okay, great. Last big item is 250, 150. Remember, this is shorthand for the 250th anniversary of the United States of America and the 150th of Colorado, both of which will be celebrated next year. And our celebrations are actually going to start likely before our next Ag Commission meeting in January at Stock Show. So we will be in communication with all of you via phone and email with particular invites as we are getting things pinned down. But really excited for what we have in store, and all of you have been part of this because I think we've got all of your oral histories recorded for all the rest of future time for people to reference on the cloud via History Colorado. So we're starting with the unveiling of a mural that is being created as we speak. It's going to be a very large mural that is traveling around the state. And it's going to start, hopefully, we're working on pinning this down, but hopefully with the opening of the stock show, where we're going to get a lot of foot traffic and a lot of engagement with this art piece that we're actually working on programming with CSU as well around ag education as it relates to what's in the mural. And hopefully everybody feels a level of representation from what the piece that's being created right now by a really fantastic and well-renowned Denver muralist. So very excited about that. So just keep January 9th, 10th, start a stock show on your minds. We are progressing well with the coffee table book we've been working on with History Colorado, again, telling histories and stories of agriculture. We'll have elements of your oral histories included. And I think some of you have also been donating family heirlooms, or at least presenting them to History Colorado to be included as part of this work. And thank you for doing that. We want to make sure that folks are connecting with history, connecting with stories, connecting with place. So much of ag, of course, is place-based too, and celebrating how distinct our state is and different across the state. So that's looking to be midsummer release for that book, and we'll have a lot of events likely going on. We're looking to partner with local museums, local radio stations to really elevate your stories and other people who are a part of this project. After that is State Fair, and it's going to be a big one. We don't really know what that means yet, but we're working it out. So, and last 11 days in August, also keep on your radars for some pretty great times down in Pueblo. And then State Fair will kick off kind of this fourth phase of celebrations next year, which is our harvest table dinners in harvest season. So, our theme is setting Colorado's table, agricultural legacy for the last 150 years. And of course, looking forward to the future as well. But nothing like gathering people around the table to share food and great company, especially across, communities that don't always sit down together at the table. So what we're going to be doing is we'll host a few of these as CDA, but I think the real bread and butter is we're putting together a package for any individual or organization to host their own harvest table dinner. Invite your community to sit around the table, to enjoy local food, to celebrate local agriculture, be part of this statewide effort, and get people who maybe never stepped foot on a farm or had a conversation with a farmer to the table to begin those relationships. So while we're kind of in the trenches on all the policy stuff, we also get the privilege of some really fantastic celebrations that, I think is very well deserved by our ag community next year. So that is it for me. Any comments, questions on the report?
Hey, Kate, I just wanted to go back to the meat thing for a bit. Since more and more people are using both custom and USDA processors, I've been having a lot of comments from people about, there's lots of rules regarding food safety and not really any rules around customer service and services provided, and transparency in that space. People are, finding out they can't get their organs back after they've taken their animals in, wondering where the byproducts go when they don't take them back. And they're wondering if we can sort of make some rules that in the state that deal with some of these issues about transparency on services from processors.
Want to answer, Haas?
Yeah, Catherine, thank you so much for that question. I think what we can do, at a minimum, let's connect offline with ICS Mark Gallegos and our custom meat processing program. Now, I don't know, we can't do much from our side, so our authority on USDA inspection facilities. But our licensed custom meat processors, we do have rules that are in place that address what they do with all parts of the animal and accountment and records and transparency to the customer. We always want to make sure that there is a record. So those processors aren't cutting a little off the side. So we do keep a look on things like that. And this has come up from time to time. So I think what we should do is connect with Mark and the program manager there and get some assistance for you on that.
That
Thanks
sounds
for-
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the other thing, Kate, is, I was down at the Regenerate conference and a bunch of us, I don't know if who heard, but Slow Meat had a big event in Sacramento, California last summer. And part of it, Roots of Change put together a meat pavilion. Well, we got talking at Regenerate, and the group decided that they would like to do a meat event, a regenerative meat event in Denver in July. And I'm just wondering if there's any way to fit that into the celebration of the 150, 250. If the department would like to have someone on the committee, the steering committee of that, I'd be happy to connect.
Catherine, yeah, I think connecting with our markets team is probably a good place to start. And then are you connected with Jordan Lambert, the head of CSU Spur Innovation Center?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because she's doing, she throws the awful party.
Yeah.
AL party every year. And this year it's, I think they're expanding it to the future cowboys. They're doing
Cowboy, yeah.
show and she's really interested in sort of like the byproduct market that you're talking about. And we're working with Jordan on 250, 150 as well. So
Okay.
I think let's follow up afterwards and make sure Jordan and you and our markets team are all talking about that.
Excellent.
Yeah, Harrison.
Oh, I was just gonna echo something that Catherine said. At our local farmers union meeting recently, it was a major point of conversation that there just seems like that there's a lot of, I don't know, I guess I don't want to call it theft, but people, there is not good oversight over quality control when it comes to what's being returned to you from these smaller USDA plants, and a number of beef producers who are there, all of whom have some element of their business, which was, supplying beef to to consumers, were saying that they're just having the hardest time getting back what they ordered and getting back, accurate weights and things like that. So totally anecdotal, but just wanted to reinforce something that Catherine just said, because it recently came up in a meeting for me.
Yeah, Harrison, again, really, honestly, thank you so much for you reiterating this issue with that we're seeing maybe with the USDA facilities. And while we don't have kind of like the regulatory authority over them, we do have friends and partners and work with them on matters, particularly on USDA facilities. So we can pass this along to our USDA partners as well of these concerns.
One of the things we did years ago with a processor that we had trouble kind of keeping track was that we helped him connect his digital scale to a computer printout. And I had a guy write a little program for him. Somebody wanted $30,000 to do that for him, and we did it for $500. And that way we got a printout. He got it. So every time they weighed a package, it was labeled, and then it went right into a spreadsheet, just a simple spreadsheet. And so it was easier for him and us to keep track. And it didn't cost very much, and it was a mechanism that helped with that. But mostly it's kind of consumer driven. If people don't feel like you're getting a good service, and you go somewhere else.
And another thing, and George, sorry to just dive in there, but to piggyback on that, and what I'm thinking too is we can do an awareness to consumers that they can put a complaint in.
Right.
And our program will go out and do an inspection and investigation, and there are rules that they have to follow, and if that address this, and if they're not following them, then we can take action.
Yeah, I don't
But we
think
can
that-
make it more available awareness to the animal owners that they could come to us if they have a complaint, if they have a concern. Sorry.
Yeah, and our,
And-
our Scales team does an amazing job on that. There's been some great wins recently on consumer protection from a weights and measures standpoint. Yeah, sorry, Harrison, go ahead.
So is that who did they put the complaint in with?
It
Did
would
they call
be
you
the,
directly.
no, they can, that's a joke. Yes, please do. The program manager is Dwayne Sinning, and it's the custom
Okay.
meat processing program in the Inspection Consumer Services Division, Mark Gallegos, Division Director.
Yeah, we can
So
add
even
that.
any they would, because all these places do custom too, so they could still go in and look at a USDA plant.
It's possible. We'll look into that, from a legal standpoint. Yeah, I think the best thing to do is we're gonna huddle internally and we can connect, with people that we need to. We're not gonna connect with Harrison and Catherine together.
But
Yep.
in the follow-up email, we can send Dwayne's contact information, so you have that.
Great.
Great. That was it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Greenberg.
And real quick, and Jeff, do you want to talk potatoes later on in the discussion
Yeah,
timeline? Maybe we can get to
Absolutely.
it then.
okay.
Okay, moving on to Regional Assistant Commissioner updates. We'll start here in-house, Riley.
All right, so back in early October, I attended the Wildlife Action Summit. Myself and Wayne East were there. It was a really encouraging, informative event. Probably the most impactful for me is the species of greatest concern tools that are coming out, and also the Colorado Codex mapping that is statewide and can be used very broadly as far as any agriculture, any land use, anything that you want to know, kind of the values of lands you're looking at or that you are using at that time. They're very useful, and I think that that's a big step into our future of what we can have available when we're trying to do different projects and things like that. So I encourage anybody to get on and check out that Codex mapping. It's very useful. So yeah, again, the habitat there. So any type of projects, if you think that if you don't want a project or you do, you can use your habitat mapping to bolster your arguments there, defend your land, anything like that's very useful. So that was exciting to me. The next thing I have going on is I am working on our regional partnership executive committee, and we have recently hired a facilitator and kind of getting a fresh start in Southeast Colorado for our partnership. We're leaning heavily on the ag education side of things and trying to get into the rural communities and bolster their programs to be able to share and more broadly educate on agriculture production and from the bottom to the top. And if that means, ag ecotourism, or just even local school level education, where's your food come from? I see a lot of value in that coming up. And another hot topic that's been going on right now in our area a little bit is and Joe has kind of been headlining this, but the grasslands changes with the Forest Service. They're updating their policies, and from what I've gathered on different producers and also speaking with Forest Service, it seems like it all kind of comes down to misinformation, miscommunication, and government distrust with producers. And a lot of it ties into, just different political appointments and things lately. And I don't think that there's a huge concern right now, other than addressing what the real goals are and what's changing in the policies and updating the policies. So I'm slightly optimistic that that'll work itself out a little better. And then I just want to touch base too, because in my constituent circle, the ag tariffs and the tariffs on our economy, just from what I've heard, and we've spoken about this a little bit, but the people that I talk to, 90% are not blaming the tariffs for the ag economy the way it is now. And the argument is pretty simple, that the core ag, the markets that we've had the last 2 years are prior to the tariffs. So they really don't equal what the tariffs have done. And I don't, and that's not my personal opinion, but what I gather and bring in is that producers in general, 90% from my experience, don't actually blame the tariffs for what's going on in the ag economy. It's more so the inflation in our inputs that's really killing us. But that's all I have for updates.
May I ask
Amanda?
a question? How do we access the mapping?
So the easiest way I would do it is just Google Colorado Codex mapping,
Okay.
or you can go on.
CODEX.
CODEX, yes. And also you can get on the wildlife action. Let's see what is it? Federal, I'm just losing my thoughts, but it's the Colorado Wildlife Action Summit website, and they had all kinds of tools on there. And they have a data hub, and you can get onto the codex from there too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Nick, is she, nope, okay. Joe Stanko sent a letter, if anybody got that. I think he passed it around. She won't be here, but there's something she had put together, so I don't know if you want to address it now or just read it later and we'll move on if there's any questions. Riley, you touched a little bit on that.
Joe's been busy.
Yes, she has.
Yeah, she always is.
Yeah.
She has, so well, that should be with us today. George.
Well, it's really nice to be here actually in person. Haven't been here for a while, so it's nice to see you all. In our part of the world, San Luis Valley, soil health and revegetation has kind of been one of the things I've been working on quite a lot with Patrick O'Neill and a group of other interested parties in the San Luis Valley, and trying to figure out a way. We're facing a large dry up, as you all know, in the San Luis Valley, and trying to deal with how we're going to revegetate that land as it goes out of production and try to keep it from blowing in. So there's all kinds of research being done with rye and all kinds of, native plant seeds. And of course, my push for this is to try to use livestock to actually improve the soil before we plant seed. And so we put some organic matter in the soil before we try to jump from a bare ground to a perennial native seed that, plant community. That's ongoing. There's some legislative language being circulated right now about how revegetation will work and who is going to be responsible for that. And the language looks like it's going to be on the owner of the water right once the land has been sold, and then the process by which that's being done. Arkansas Valley's got some stuff that Robert sent out. I read those. There's 3 different reports there, and San Luis Valley is going to tag onto that. One of the things I did notice that they don't have grazing in any mentioned in that. They have a biological control, which might broadly include that, but I think it should be more specifically mentioned, not only as part of revegetation, but also as maintenance once the lands have been revegetated. So there's a lot of work going on that, a lot of meetings. We meet once every couple of weeks, and it's been quite a process, a lot of field trips, and good. Wolves, we've had wolves actually my wife saw a wolf within about 50 feet of our house, run by and jump over the top of a fence. I thought she was crazy. And then we got word that taller, and it was you know, she did see a wolf, so.
You believed her.
I believe it now. I didn't believe it before, but. Well, I didn't know what to believe, you know, it's like you can't imagine what like to, for that to happen, because it's just so unusual. But I have talked to quite a few producers in the area and kind of keep the local CPW officer done a great job of keeping me apprised. He calls every time there's a sighting or if there's a wolf in the area, and I've talked to producers, and no one has had any predation as far as they know up to now. So everybody's a little nervous, but not, you know, everything seems to be going along all right that way. In the water world, there are two major trials coming up for the San Luis Valley this in January in Water Corps. The first one being the plan of augmentation for sub-district number 1 to get that plan approved. And in that plan, one of the things that they're gonna do is go to a 1-to-1 augmentation plan. So you bring in an acre foot of water, then you can pump an acre foot of water. If you do more than that, it may cost up to $500 an acre foot for any water pump beyond what you bring in. That doesn't recover the aquifer, it keeps it where it's at. But that's gonna, and that, if the court approves that plan of augmentation, that's big, there's lots of details to that, obviously beyond that, but that's the kind of the major thrust of that and what Sub-District 1 board has tried to establish to try to get that aquifer under control. That in turn is going to cause a lot of dry up. And
that's if the graphs don't change again.
that's if the graphs don't change. Every time they do a new model run, you know, the impacts of wells on surface rights seem to increase. Sub-district number 5, where I'm at up there, we've improved our aquifer it's come up 4 feet in the head of the confined aquifer. So we've been very successful in bringing that up. But every time they do a model run, then we owe more to Saguache Creek. So then we have to go out and buy more land and dry it up. And so we're trying to keep our costs, you know, we're at a point where in the ranching end of things and, you know, with meadows, buying water for those, we're at a point where if we get too much more, the fees get too much higher, we're gonna start losing, people are gonna not be able to pay the fees. Then if we lose that revenue from people pumping, then the sub-district can't pay its loan and the whole thing could collapse because of that. So we're still, it's a struggle. And, you know, we put a lot of effort into bringing that aquifer back and we've been successful in that way, but the cost is rising also. There will be a second trial in Water Court in January where the SWAG group, which is the Sustainable Water Agricultural Group, I'm not sure exactly what they're called, SWAG, which is a group of farmers that's basically trying to form their own conservation district inside of underneath the Rio Grande Water, or not under the Rio Grande Water Conservation, but their own. And they're primarily a group of farmers that are centered over the part of the aquifer that's the most depleted, who don't have surface rights. And so they're trying to find a way through court to keep their operations alive. And what their chances are, I don't know, but anyway, that's a second trial. Both those trials are scheduled to be 3 weeks each. We'll see how long they really last, but that's what's going on in the water world there. And I think that's about it for me. So questions if anybody has. Okay, thank you, George. You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to legislative policy and budget updates. Jordan.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna go through it quickly, but please feel free to stop me with any questions that you all have. Also just want to preface this with anything that I'm going to show you on the screen today, we'll send you a link in the follow-up email as well, so you'll have access. Just gonna start off by touching on the governor's proposed budget that was released on October 31st. Governor is required to submit a proposed balanced budget to the legislature each year. We were anticipating the necessity to have some budget cuts this year, and the governor's budget did include some of that. There's about $252 million in cuts kind of across the board to various state agencies. In addition, there was actually an increase in Medicaid spending, but less than actual expenses. And so there will have to be some caps on various benefits offered through that in order to try to keep the costs down, again, to help balance the budget. And then kind of the other big budget balancing measure in there is a proposal to privatize Pinnacle Insurance. So those are kind of the key highlights from the governor's overall budget. Really tried to emphasize keeping funding for education and other priorities within this budget. So that leads us to what I have up here on the slides, which are CDA's proposed budget changes for this year. So in addition to what I'm going to talk about here, our just general budget for the next year will remain relatively the same. There are small increases proposed for staff salaries, health, life, dental, things like that, but no other kind of operational or staff increases outside of what we're going to talk about here. So the first proposal that we have is actually a budget reduction measure. So again, part of that $252 million in total cuts across the state. Our one up here is CDA's portion of what we are putting forward to help balance the budget. We are proposing to cut about $236,000 in general fund out of the commissioner's office personal services budget. We're able to do this without impacting any of our current staff. We've kind of realigned some positions over the last few years. And so there's some savings that we're able to get out of that. So we're offering that up. In addition, out of the plants division, they receive both general fund as well as fees to cover costs of that program. And looking at and doing an analysis of that cash fund, we were able to give up about $120,000 in general fund out of that, while maintaining a healthy balance in that fund. So again, not impacting staff or customer service at any level. So that's what we're offering up this year from the department's perspective. The second proposal that we have is actually budget neutral. With our agrivoltaics grant program, we have to spend any money we get within that same state fiscal year. Our state fiscal year runs from July 1st through the end of June. This is really challenging when you're doing construction projects, when you have to start in one of the building seasons and finish in the next building season. It also is a challenge when our teams are trying to fund research projects, because you can't fund a project over an entire project season. So this would just allow us to expend those funds over multiple fiscal years. And so we could fund a project, again, that says, starts in May and ends in October. The last request we have is actually a request that we submitted last year. This is just a reorganization of how our budget is structured in the long bill, which is the budget bill that's passed by the legislature each year. The goal with this is to align what the legislature is doing with how we're actually structured here in the department. And the main goal of this is just transparency into how each one of our divisions is funded. This was actually approved by the Joint Budget Committee last year. However, their staff didn't have the capacity to do it last year, because it is a lot of work on the back end of reprogramming things. So they asked us to bring it back this year. And so we brought it back again this year, and we're hopeful that it will move forward this time. So those are all of our kind of budget proposals that we have this year. We will have our budget hearing at sometime in December, and we can update all of you at our January meeting if there's any changes that happen between now and then.
I gotta ask Jordan,
Yep.
where the 150,000 out of the plants division, what's where's that money being cut from and what's being sacrificed off of the plants division?
Yeah, so that's where, again, we kind of looked at the overall balance of that fund, kind of the revenue coming in and expenditures over the last few years. And we've actually been trying to spend down
Okay,
some money in that fund because we've had an excess. And so kind of projecting out, we believe we can cut that $120,000 in general fund without having any impact.
okay. Thank you.
All right. And I'm gonna move on to our legislative proposals that we're gonna be bringing forward from the department's perspective this year. We have 4 of them. Again, these will be provided to all of you kind of in the follow-up. The first proposal is a modification to our existing Colorado Agricultural Future Loan Program. And the goal of this is to allow a new type of entity to apply for loans. This would either be a certified land trust in the state or a water conservation or conservancy district. And with them being able to access the program, the intent behind this is that they could then utilize kind of that loan funding as part of transactions to purchase at-risk agricultural lands and protect them and then turn those over to the next generation. We've been having conversations with the land conservation community and some funders in that area since about this time last year, when some potential projects were brought forward to the department to seeking some funding and support that would have protected both agricultural lands and water rights in very kind of significant areas of the state that are under great pressure for speculation, for water rights, and for development from agricultural lands. And in particular, where the current owners of that land want to get out of agriculture, but they're also not already inclined to conserve that land before they do so. So there's a lot of people that want to put conservation easement on the property, then turn around and sell it. This is more targeting those folks that just need to be done for their own personal reasons. They need to walk away. They need to get the fair market value price for that property. We want to, again, be able to provide a tool to those organizations to come in and protect it, prevent it from being developed, prevent those water rights from being sold off, so it can stay in agricultural production. Now with this kind of modification to our loan program, again, we're anticipating that these will be very short-term loans, about 18 months to 2 years. And that the loans really will be paid back kind of 2 ways. One is through those entities putting a conservation easement on those lands, gaining the proceeds from the tax credits, and then selling that land at the discounted value to a new agricultural producer. So those 2 things combined, as well as some additional private funding, would be what would repay those loans that we would make through this program. Another important thing to note is that we are not proposing to use any of the existing capital within our loan program for this, because that's already oversubscribed and we have a wait list for that. We have been having conversations with some foundations that are active in the state that are interested in using some of their capital to fund this, but they don't have the mechanism to do it. And so we would potentially be the mechanism and they would be the funding source for it. So this is just the first step in the process. We need authorization to do this. Then we would need agreements to get funding and write rules. So this is the first step in probably a 1 or 2 year long process to try to make this happen. Go ahead, Harrison.
I'm really excited to hear about this. We actually we were actually in touch with a private firm that's doing a really similar thing because of the puzzle that is buying land and conserving it and paying for it in the meantime. And would love to share our feedback about what what we learned from them and what's working and what's not working. But anyways, thrilled to see that this is coming on, because it is I think a critical tool. And also hopefully we'll push forward the conversation around conservation easements in Colorado. We've actually basically stopped looking at this point because of the uncertainty about conservation easements after the statute sunset. And so as soon as we get clarity on that, I think this is a program like this is really cool and valuable to have, and could probably be done by the department in a more considerate way than some of these venture capital based firms.
Yeah, and again, I want to thank Evan as well. She's been integral part of kind of developing this. And, you know, I think that's been a lot of the conversations and a lot of the groundwork we've done over the past year, is really trying to find kind of where there's that gap out there. And I think one of the things that we've really seen is that there's a lot of people that kind of play in the land conservation space. There's a lot of funders out there, but virtually none of them have agriculture as their primary focus. It's usually an afterthought. And that goes to the different funding sources out there. So that's one of the big differentiators coming into it with this program, is that it's focused on that productive agricultural land, keeping it in production, not an afterthought.
Good job.
Yep.
So I really like this program as well, but do we have a plan for how we will be able to, or how this land will be able to be offered for sale again after the easement? What's the expectancy there?
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of players in these transactions. Our role is gonna be as the lender in them. And so that's where the land trust and the water conservation district, they would ultimately be the ones that are responsible kind of for selling it. Now we do anticipate that again, we would have some kind of priorities, and they would have to submit kind of their plan before we would fund that, on how they would go about doing that. But that has been a big topic of conversation, is how we ensure that those folks are being connected to potential purchasers, and how those potential purchasers have the resources that they need to be successful.
So it'll be on the private market then?
Yes.
That's good.
I would highly encourage you to consider it, putting into this the fact that the buyer could initiate this whole deal. That, you know, I could go to CDA and say, I want to buy and conserve this property. I'm not going to be able to sell the credits until whatever 147 or whatever. And so, you know, so we need to, you know, what I would like you to do. So in my, you know, what would be great would be a lease sale agreement, where you essentially would buy, whoever is going to buy the property, owning the property while it's being conserved, it's being leased back to me, and then it's sold back to me at the conserved price. So, you know, include in this an opportunity for the purchaser to initiate this process, because as far as I can tell, there's a lot of people out there that look at that, you know, $2.8 million property and think, man, I could afford that if it was conserved, but I can't afford it not conserved. So anyways, just a thought.
No, I think that's a great point, Harrison, and that's really kind of the intent behind this on the purchase side of it, because the cost and the amount of time that you have to carry those costs for somebody that's trying to purchase and conserve a property is very high. And so part of why we think this will work is because that all of those costs are done upfront by these other entities. And so you, as the purchaser, don't have to pay the transaction costs. You don't have to, you don't have to carry that, $2 million loan for several years while you're waiting to get paid back on the credits. That's all being offloaded onto these other entities. And one of the things that we've heard in some of our conversations is that there's a lot of very creative ways to put together transactions. And that we really shouldn't and are gonna be aiming to not box ourselves in the statutory language. To make sure that we are open to these various types of transactions, and we can really further define that through the rulemaking process. All right, I'm gonna keep moving on, 'cause I've got some more things to cover. The second proposal that we're gonna be bringing forward is modifications to our community food access tax credit. So this is a tax credit for small food retailers and farmers to purchase equipment to sell in that space. This started out as a grant program funded with federal stimulus dollars. And as that was rolling off, the legislature transitioned it into a tax credit program. So really what we're seeking to do with this is expand eligibility a fair bit by allowing producers to participate that don't just sell to these qualified small food retailers, but also either donate or sell food to charitable programs or directly to school districts as well. So again, just expanding the number of producers that are eligible. And then also right now in statute, there's a limit on a producer's income of $300,000 or less to be eligible. We're proposing removing that to allow some larger farms to participate in the program, but with that adding an overall cap on the amount of credit that can be claimed. So right now, the amount that an individual can claim is unlimited, but we're proposing adding a $300,000 cap on there for producers. This is still far in excess of what we've seen. I think the largest producer credit we've seen to date is $120,000, so it still allows for that. And then we'd also be putting on a overall cap on the small food retailer credit as well of $1 million. Again, just to make sure that somebody doesn't come in and kind of take up all of the credits. But there's been some discussions in some rural areas of the state with folks looking at developing new retail spaces or new grocery store in unserved areas where they're factoring in potentially up to about $1 million of credits to be able to make that happen. So want to put a limit in there, but also make sure that it's flexible enough to allow for that type of situation to move forward. There's also some other kind of just administrative changes that we're looking to make in this to kind of streamline the process, because it's very labor intensive on our staff part. And then kind of the final biggest change is we're looking to right size the overall cap on this program. So right now there's a $10 million a year total cap on the program. The first year we've issued about $2 million in credits. That was 24. From 25, we're trending in about the same direction. And so we're looking to move that cap from 10 million down to 5 million, again, just to right size the program. Even with the proposed changes, we don't anticipate actually hitting that $5 million mark. Stop there. See if anybody has questions. All right. Moving on, the third proposal is a pesticide disposal enterprise and program. This is brought forward by our pesticides team and has been talked about for the past 3 or 4 years with our pesticide advisory committee and applicators. We're essentially modeling this program off of a program that's offered in about 20 plus other states around the country. And it would essentially create kind of rotating disposal days in rural areas of the state. And it would allow our agricultural applicators and our commercial applicators to come and dispose of any unused, unneeded pesticides and pesticide containers for a small fee that we're going to estimate at about $10 for that. How this will be funded overall would be a fee added on to pesticide product registrations. So this is the registration that the pesticide company has to pay in the state in order to be able to sell that product in the state. We anticipate that that fee will be about $30 per product registration in the state to cover the overall cost of the program. Even with that additional fee, those product registration fees would fall right in the middle of all the states in the country. So we're still right there in the middle. So we don't think this will have any impact of, costs being passed down from big chemical companies and producers down to our actual applicators and the folks purchasing on the ground. Yeah, per product that you're selling statewide, it's just a $30 increase per year. Because of this kind of state budget situation and some of the Taylor caps, again, we're proposing this as an enterprise, so it would essentially run like a business. So all of the fees collected would go to cover the costs of the programs, and there wouldn't be other state sources of funding that come in to do that.
Sure, and I have a question on that. You said private and commercial, so licensed pretty much. What about the homeowner who has pesticide products? Will this be open to homeowners? Or will they take it to commercial applicators and have them?
Yeah, so the primary focus is the licensed applicator community. There's a lot of homeowners and a lot of like more of the urban counties. There's county disposal programs that they have access to. But our commercial applicators don't have access to those. And then obviously our agricultural applicators more in the kind of rural areas of the state don't have access, like they can't come into Jefferson County and use Jefferson County's disposal site because you have to be a resident of that county.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is it include all containers as well as leftover product?
Yeah, the proposal is to include containers as well. So that's one of the things that we've heard is a huge issue is that you might use all the product because again, you're trying to, you don't want anything left over.
Yeah.
But you have the container. And disposing of that is a challenge.
And how is that properly disposed of?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a disposal person, but the department itself wouldn't actually be doing the disposing. We'd be hiring and contracting out with there's 3 disposal companies that operate in the state that are certified through the public health and Department of Public Health and Environment to do this work.
Jeff, what do people do now? Is that some of the black fires I see?
No, they they sit in some locked room in the corner of a shop because we don't know what to do with them. So it's kind of an issue. So you can do your triple rinse of your container and then you still end up with a container somewhere that's rinsed out and a lot of people burn them, a lot of people put them in the landfill. Yeah, but it's best thing is to use it all, but you always have a little left over.
And this is what we've heard, again, kind of anecdotally, because it's a really challenging situation for people to be in, but we don't have any data on it, but the reality is what Jeff said is if you don't have a way to properly dispose of these, or for a lot of our applicators, they were coming back to us and saying, it was a $1,500 fee to dispose of things, which is not doable for most people. The reality is, you burn it, you bury it, or you throw it in the county landfill, which are all things we want to avoid.
Is there any way that program could be rolled into an existing program? I'm just going to throw Brian Pauly under the bus here and put him in. Could it be rolled into the inspection division by any chance of having, because those guys are kind of around the state doing different things and.
So by virtue of it being an enterprise, we have to kind of set it up as a standalone program because only the fees coming in can only pay for the cost of operating that program. They can't pay for other things, and then we can't bring in staff, resources, and other resources from outside to support it. Now, with that said, when we do kind of that education and outreach about those different events, we will be utilizing all of our staff and our resources to get information out there to folks.
Yeah. So the disposal will be third party. Yeah, just, okay.
Right, I'll move on to the last proposal that we have. This is a proposal to expand the allowable uses of one of our existing cash funds. I'm gonna do some explanation here. Within the Animal Health Division, so under Dr. Baldwin, we have a cash fund, which is called the Livestock Indemnity Fund. So each year, at the end of the fiscal year, if Dr. Baldwin's division has any unspent general fund money that they get, it automatically gets put into the Livestock Indemnity Fund. Livestock Indemnity Fund is used for exactly what it says, to indemnify when the state has to come in and actually cull animals as part of a disease investigation, disease outbreak. Now, the reality is this fund has been utilized one time in the last decade for a $2,500 payment. Vast majority of indemnity payments are made by the USDA. And if the state was put in a position of having to cover indemnity payments that are made by the USDA, this fund would come nowhere close to covering those costs. You know, with HPAI, it's been in the tens of billions of dollars of overall indemnity payments that have gone out. So what we're proposing to do with this fund is allow Dr. Baldwin to utilize the balance in there, not just for indemnity payments, but also for preparedness and response activities. The idea behind this is that our hope is to get ahead of things to prevent the need for indemnity payments on the back end and be a much more proactive. And a great example of how some of this money could be utilized is right now, Dr. Baldwin is spending a lot of time working on preparations for the World Screwworm. This would be, again, a funding source that she would be able to tap into to help out with that planning process. And then also, if there was a early detection or a potential of an early detection, it would be a fund we could dip into to go respond very quickly and rapidly to try to prevent that single incident from spreading and becoming a larger issue. So that's kind of the big intent with this program. Another piece that I forgot to mention is the account balance in here to give you guys some scale. At this point last year, we had about $750,000 in this fund. The General Assembly swept $250,000 out of it to balance the budget last year. So we now have about $500,000. So part of our thinking is that if we don't make this fund more useful, it will continue to be a target by the legislature to balance the budget. So that was part of our calculations in doing this, is really, again, trying to be more proactive, to prevent the need for indemnification, but then also, again, make sure that this money stays within the Animal Health Division and is utilized for kind of those purposes. Any questions on that? Great. All right, well, that's it for our agenda items for this year. I'm gonna just quickly cover a few other things that are out there. The Water Resources and Agricultural Review Committee, which is kind of the year-round committee that meets from the legislature, last month they voted to move a couple bills forward to introduce this session. The first one changes the definition of ranch in the taxation statutes for property taxes to allow for, it's slightly expanded, so it would allow for other grazed animals or animals that primarily get their nutrition from the land to count. So right now, to be a ranch of it basically has to be livestock, so cows, sheep. This would expand it for pigs and poultry.
I get to be a ranch?
The other bill that they are moving forward with would clarify in statute that if you are saying produce was grown in Colorado and it was not, it was grown in another state or another country, that is a deceptive trade practice. It would also clarify in statute, put in statute that if you're using the Colorado Proud label without authorization from the department, that is a deceptive trade practice as well. So it really just put some additional kind of protections around that in statute. So again, these are just bills that were proposed and are likely going to be moving forward that we'll see this session. In addition, again, everybody's talking about bills right now. There's lots of rumors that are out there. Some of the things that we know are very likely to get introduced this year are bills addressing agricultural overtime. George brought up the revegetation bill that's coming out of Lower Arkansas Valley Water Conservancy District. We've been having conversations with them since summer of last year around this concept, and Robert's really kind of leading the efforts on that one. There's also in the water space, we're anticipating a bill around the right to float or stream access. We're not quite sure what the scope of that's going to be yet, but I'm anticipating that there will be a bill introduced on that. And then kind of another big bill of note is we are anticipating a bill around coated seeds. And our expectation right now is that that bill will not ban the use of coated seeds, but it would require somebody to get essentially a letter from an agronomist saying that there is a need within this specific operation to utilize coated seed in order for you to go then purchase those. So we're keeping a kind of close eye on that one as well. There's a lot of other bills and rumors out there right now. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but I am just going to use this moment to kind of ask all of you if you are hearing of things that you are either supportive of, very concerned about, please either bring those up here at the commission meetings. You can either bring them up now or in your updates. Or if it's in between commission meetings, if you want to reach out to me on an individual basis and just let me know about your individual concerns, that's also very helpful. I'm well over time, so I'll stop there.
Jordan, is my question. On the ag overtime, we can speak about it later if you'd like, but if anybody else is interested, I hear a lot of disruption over this because some that's in the H2A and some that are just citizen employees. This is really going to put a pinch on the producers that are, you know, paying these wages and things. What are the facts about that? Because I hear so many rumors and, you know, time to half increase over 40 hours is really going to kill people.
Yeah. So what I'm anticipating is a bill that would come forward to set the overtime threshold across the board at 60 hours. So it would actually be an increase in the number of hours over what most operations are seeing right now.
So is that for this upcoming year then? We would anticipate that?
I anticipate the bill being introduced this coming session.
Yeah.
In terms of implementation timeline, I don't know that yet.
So talking for 2026, what is it currently?
It depends kind of on the operation, and that's part of the challenge is that it's complicated. I don't have the formula in front of me, but I can get it to you. But essentially for a number of folks kind of got ratcheted down to 48 hours, but there's some exceptions for highly seasonal workers and allows you to increase above that for certain periods of the year.
Okay.
But if you're a year-round operation that doesn't have kind of those seasonal swings, you're kept to that 48-hour period.
That's helpful. Yeah, I would like to see that if you have it available at any time.
Yep. Yeah, and I can send a link in the follow-up email to this as well with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Moving on to operations update, Hollis.
Absolutely. Thanks, Simon. I think what I'm gonna do to really get us back on track is I'm gonna just take about 3 minutes and show you a document that I'm working on as a way to kind of help communicate everything, the dearth of what we just heard from Kate and Jordan. And we're just scratching the surface. So I'm going to show you a document with our updates, and I'm not going to go into them today. I was going to touch on a few, but I don't, they're here. And this will, again, like as Jordan mentioned with his information, will be put in the after meeting memo for you. But Amira is going to share. This is something I'm noodling on. It's a work in progress, but it's an Ag Commission report. Everything that on this report is public record. That we'll be sharing with you today. I'm using it also for my notes to prep for you. The benefit of this document is also that you will be able to kind of refer back to it. You always have a one-stop shop a little bit with some easy links. You can go into more data, more information if you're more interested in the topic. A lot of what's going to be in here is things that you have probably heard already discussed by Kate and Jordan, and what you're going to hear later today, maybe from Evan and others. The structure of it, again, we're looking at this as a prop for now, and then we'll include it into your FYI memo. But essentially, what this is try and think of this almost like a dashboard / news front page newspaper, in which on the left side is, and again, this is a strategic operational focus, right? So, high level stuff from the commissioner, kind of narrowing down just another level to where we're at from a strategic perspective. So on the left, you'll keep an eye on our dashboard of our strategic plans and the efforts that we're working on, our strategic actions. We've completed six out of 27. Underneath it, you'll see summary reports of recent actions that we have completed and which kind of provide the narrative of the impact of that project. We like to do a little behind the numbers just for the people who are visual learners here, and highlighting just a couple of the recent achievements in our strategic plan. Recently here for our Ag Worker Services program at Aldapata, they've connected over last fiscal year 2,000, and I can't read, my eyes are old, to 2,000 ag workers in part of their building of the regional support networks, which was a result of legislation that passed a couple of years ago. And then also, and as an update from last time, Colorado Proud, 11320 downloads of our podcast and kind of the work we've been doing there to modernize Colorado Proud, be more responsive. Anyways, that is going to be that'll be the strategic plan, dashboard and update of our successes. Kind of continuing down the first column there, these are going to be quick links for you all. CDA at a glance just takes you to the website where you're going to see information about all of our grants, all of our upcoming events. We keep that refreshed, and just so you know, it's always going to be there. Strategic planning, can't get enough of it. So if you really want to dive into the nitty gritty, want to see what we're working on, you can click on that second green arrow at the bottom there. The third little, hey Hollis, is this something I'm going to try and experiment? But if you click on that button, it's on I'm trying to moonlight a little bit as an AI source, but if you click on that button, what it's going to do is it's going to send you it's going to create an email that you can email me directly if you have any questions about anything that you see. Also, if there's anything that you are hearing, seeing, want to know more about, or a program you want to be updated on at the upcoming Ag Commission meeting, click that button, send me an email. This would be a great example of how you could use these and talk to me about the concerns we're seeing with custom meat processor service, right? And then from an operational focus, again, we're going to give you the top 5 program updates. And again, you're going to see, and America, do you mind if we can make that slightly bigger? You're going to see kind of, and these are changing and jockeying. It's kind of fun to see as we put this together, kind of what are the 5 from an operational standpoint is our team working on. Again, no worries. I'll just, I got it here. So you can click on a link. You can also see the information that the work that we've been doing with our brand modernization effort, again, and the fee rollout that we recently did went well. You can also read. Some of these will have links for more information. Some of them are written to be more like headline grabbers, right? We signed One Health MOU to secure data response coordination between CDPHE and CPW. Kate just mentioned that. First round of climate smart marketing expansion. Want to learn more about what we were doing there? Really cool project, connecting with New Belgium Brewery. And then, updates. You can see an update on the Colorado Proud Farm to School month. It used to be a day, but now it's a month. So you can read all of that and more in this report. And then I'm giving you a little bit of behind the scenes, right? What the magic is behind here when we talk about like HR and we talk about IT and procurement, all of that stuff, all how that works. So we give you kind of updates on that. So, we are preparing for the SMART Act as Commissioner Greenberg made. And by the way, this is going to be very helpful if you miss an Ag Commission meeting. Legislative bills emerging. That one is, this is kind of a link in which we'll be working on and connecting with Jordan on legislative matters there. And then good to knows. Finally, these are things that are coming up on the horizon. Good knows, quick links. If you remember, if you want to know more about what Robert is probably about to dive into with the Ag Behavioral Health Summit, there's the link for the registration and the press release. And then also, as we mentioned earlier, the New World Screwworm Workshop and information there, or just awareness of what that is. As Ag commissioners, if you're out in the field and you're speaking with members of the public and something like this comes up, it hopefully jogs their memory. So please use this. We'll be calibrating this to make it effective. And please use the Hey Hollis. So I'd love to calibrate my presentations and the content onto the programs that you are focused on and most important to you. I'm sorry I didn't be able to get into some of the more of the highlights there. I was going to totally tee you up, Jeff, for potatoes. But I'll end there, but I will say this. I do have a special surprise embedded in here. There's a special link. You have to find it. And when you find it, you'll see it. It's a photo. And the first one that finds it, I have a special prize. It may be a senior management's voicemail, recording your voicemail, but we'll figure it out. But I want to see who can use and dive into this because I want this to be an interactive document. So first Ag Commissioner that finds that and emails me by themselves gets a little something special surprise.
And is this gonna come to our mailbox?
This will be part of the follow-up email that Amara sends out.
Okay.
And then I use it
So I
for my
can't look right now.
presentation. No,
Okay.
no, you don't have access to it. When it's released,
But it won't be
Game on.
something on the website
no,
that we could,
no,
this will be.
no. But again, this is a public document, so everything that will be in here is corrigible. And fine, but fresh information. Okay. Thanks, Simon.
Anything else?
I'm done.
Okay, any questions for Hollis?
That looks great, and it kind of is an update of the talking points that we've had in the past, and looks really useful to me.
Yeah, and it's gonna help like this too, because if we're running late, we can say it's in the memo, it's in the report, and also it kind of then ties the strings together. What we're doing and talking throughout the meeting.
Okay, moving to CDA behavioral health discussion. Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate being able to be here. On the Ag Behavioral Health Fund, I'm really excited by the work that we're doing. And I think Amir is going to bring up my PowerPoint presentation slide. That's something up there. Did any of you see the 60 Minutes program last Sunday? Yeah, so if you haven't, a QR code on my presentation will take you to the YouTube recording. 60 Minutes covered the challenges that agriculture is facing these days, economic, which we're talking about, the higher cost of inputs and everything. It specifically points out the mental stress the farmers and ranchers are under and the increasing calls to 988 in response to individuals. And that doesn't count, of course, what going on behind the scenes for people not asking that. Next slide, you can go to the next slide. So that QR code will take you up there. Yeah. And I can send you the link too. I'll send you guys all the link. Next slide. So Oh, this is a picture of the moon. I wish I would have seen the
Oh,
last night's.
Oh,
event.
we have photos, yeah.
I know, that was amazing. Did anybody see that?
Can't see it from Denver.
I
Some
got one
people
from
said they
Idaho,
did.
friend of mine from Idaho sent it.
Yeah.
It must have hit up north.
Yeah,
a
it's
little bit.
too much light. We tried to look.
Yeah, so, but this was a picture I took of the full moon, it was just about 2 weeks ago. I thought it was appropriate because again, and I think you guys have heard me say this, that unfortunately, the suicide rates among farmers and ranchers are 3.5 times that of the general population. So the work that we're doing is really important. Next slide. So, in 2024, the Senate passed SB 24055. You can see the prime sponsors there were Senator Marchman, Senator Will, Representative Lukens, and Hartsick, and then also with a lot of support from the ag organizations, including Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. Next slide. This piece of legislation empowered us to start up the Ag Behavioral Health Work Group. Commissioner Greenberg has appointed 15 members to that work group. This is the purpose and the process that we're following. Essentially, it's really to compile best practices, identify gaps, engage with other stakeholders, and report findings and recommendations to the legislature. Next slide. Try to catch up here a little bit as well. So here are the list of the work group members that Kate has appointed. As you can see, we've got a wide range of individuals, whether they provide behavioral health practices, whether they're people with lived experiences, people in the Ag Ability program, and then representation from all across the state. So Clinton Wilson with Ag Ability, Tim Miller with Colorado Farm Bureau, Jetney Wilson from Superior, JC Carica from Durango, Kate Martinez, Alamosa, Isabel Proctor, Rocky Ford, Jessica Duke, Yuma, Yulisa Soto. She's in Denver, but she does amazing work all over the world, really, it sounds like. MJ Guzman, Rocky Ford, Jacob Walters with Pueblo, Michael Lozano, Steamboat, Chad Rezenchek with CSU Ag Ability, Julie Elliott with CSU, James, or as he goes, Mike Aldwin with Southern Ute Tribe, and Richard Harlan with the Utah Ute Tribe. And then really hats off to Rosie Scalbron with our climate program. She's been a great help in what we're doing here. Without her, it'd really be hard for me to keep up with all of it. And then I'd also like to introduce to you who's here today, Elizabeth Thomas. She's just been recently hired by the Behavioral Health Administration, and she'll be our liaison with them. Elizabeth, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Grab a seat at the table. This is the camera right here.
Yeah, so stay up far away from the camera.
Yeah.
No.
Morning, everyone. I'm Liz Thomas. I'm actually originally from Flagler, Colorado, Kit Carson County. Grew up on a dryland wheat and millet and cow-calf operation with my dad and granddad. Went to CSU and double majored in economics and agricultural business. And then majority of my career has actually been with the Farm Service Agency in various roles. Started as the county executive director in Phillips and Sedgwick counties, and then went to the state office as an outreach and communications coordinator, and also the administrative officer. So been in various roles. Also did some internships with CSU Ag Ability in college, where I really started my career with mental rehabilitative health within farmers and ranchers. Growing up, we didn't talk about our feelings. We didn't go to the doctor. You don't do a lot of that within agriculture, and I think it's very important. So I'm really excited to be in this role, really be able to make a difference, use my ag expertise to try and build that rapport with the farmers and ranchers and really bring the importance to it.
Yes, I used to started.
Last Monday.
Yeah, just barely started, but really, really excited. And up to this point, we've, the support that we've had from BHA has been really wonderful. Rosie and I both feel like what we're learning is about the behavioral health resources that are available, and then how we make those connections with the community. So we have a partnership with BHA and then also with CDPHE, the Suicide Prevention Program. So we have representatives from both of those people on our work group. So welcome aboard, Liz. We're excited to have you on board.
Excited to be here.
Great. Next slide, Meryl. So this next slide is just progress to date. So the work group has met. We started meeting in December of last year. And the work group, it was really amazing because the legislation says that we have to meet monthly. And some of us are going, boy, that's pretty aggressive for a work group. But from the very beginning, the work group members said, no, we want to meet monthly. There's a lot of work that we want to try to accomplish. Because this bill, I think sunsets, I can't remember, it sunsets in about 4 years, I think. So the work group was really wanted to get as much done as we could. So they've continued to work monthly. We have an hour and a half meetings scheduled monthly, and you can see that we've formed 3 subcommittees, one to look at current view of best management practices. And when we did that, it was really interesting because we immediately found out what was lacking was on the worker side. That, there's been a lot of attention for producers, farmers and ranchers themselves, but less on the worker side. So we partnered up with our ag work program here at the Department of Ag, working with Aldo and his team to really identify what more we can be doing in that area. Again, the next step is kind of tied into that collection of data to identify current gaps, one of those being ag workers, and then developing a communication plan, which Liz, we're really excited that you're gonna see has already volunteered to really help us do that. So we're really excited by that. We've improved our own webpage. We hosted a COMET training. COMET stands for Changing Our Mental and Emotional Trajectory. Has anybody here done COMET training? Yeah. So if you have an opportunity, it's offered quite a bit. I know Larry Brown offers it quite a bit down in the valley. I think it's really focused, it's developed in Colorado and really focused on how to interact with ag producers. And the neat thing about it too, there's other programs like what's something called QPR. What does QPR stand for? I forgot. QPR, which is really responding to people that are in stress that are really a suicide risk, right? But COMET is thinking a little bit before that, and that's why it's changing that mental trajectory, that identifying the stress early on to hopefully change this before you get to that point where you feel hopeless and the only way out seems like suicide. So that's where I think COMET's really exciting program. And then Rocky Mountain Farmers Union is the one that's working with us to hold the summit that will be on Thursday and Friday. Next slide, Amara. Well, that's a picture actually down in the bell. So that picture background was actually when I was down there one time. So we're really excited. We've had 90 plus registrants so far, 14 organizational spotlights. So the whole goal of the summit again was to connect those BHA behavioral health specialists with ag organizations or community members that want to do something in their region. So I've listed kind of who's presenting on those organizational spotlights. They include Immigrant Health Access Collaborative, Tri-County Health Network out on the West Slope, Delta Health, Bridging Wellness and Culture, San Luis Valley Extension, Colorado Department of Law. So we actually reached out to AG Weiser and their community program there. They're attending our conference and seeing if we can partner up with them, especially with some of the opioid monies that they have received, whether those can be, we can use any of those in our programs. Agribility, both physical, behavioral, and research side. Farm Aid is coming out to present. Casa Emigrante Health and Wellness Fairs, and Mental Health Colorado, as well as Ag Well. And then we appreciate Commissioner Miller Cooley for presenting. She'll be one of our panelists there. So thanks so much. Next slide. And we're just really encouraging people to get involved. So like I said, we have 15 commission members. All the meetings are open to the public. It's amazing. We do get members of the general public just listening in. We really appreciate that and learn from those people that have participated. Next slide. Just to update you on the other side of the things that I'm working on is really, everybody here familiar with the Legacy film, right? So the Legacy is a film that was developed specifically identifying 3 Colorado families and the challenges they felt they interacted with on behavioral health side. So the Department of Ag, this was really just about when I started here 2 years ago, had that grant to really cross the state of Colorado and have screenings of this. Well, I could kind of continue this on my own. November 17th, in conjunction with the Gunnison Basin Roundtable, we're going to show it. So my thought there is sometimes when you have this standalone event, people won't go to it, right? Why do I need to go listen to something about behavioral health? But if they're going to some other topic that they're interested in, like water, and show it, it's amazing the conversations that it can generate. And so we've been really lucky. Commissioner Wendell Kuntz down there, who's the chair of the Gunnison Basin Roundtable, has really been a great partner. And we're going to show it there at the Gunnison Basin Roundtable Monday night after the roundtable. January 23rd, we're gonna have it as a breakout session at the Roots of Renewal Conference in Montrose. And then the big news is that Colorado Water Congress has even agreed to show this, and this is during the plenary session. So it's not at a breakout session. They're gonna show it to all attendees, and I think that conference probably has 500 or 600 attendees. So we're gonna show the film, and of course, not only do we show the film, but we have a panel there with behavioral health experts that really can delve into the topic more deeply about what everybody can do and the resources that are available. So if there's any other opportunities that you guys know in your communities, don't hesitate to reach out to me and we'll see if we can get them lined up. Next slide. Other potential partners, I talked about the AG, Colorado Health Foundation will be presenting, CSU Agribility, and CPEACE down in Carbondale. I'm really excited to partner up with them. Harrison, I made a connection. Dr. Zerba, is it down there? I met her mom at a conference and she connected us together, having conversations on how we can partner there. So we're excited by that. Great, thanks, Harrison. Next slide. I think, I don't know if I showed this to you before, but as I'm learning more about behavioral health, this is oftentimes what behavioral health specialists will show, the 8 dimensions of wellness, how we need to have this balance in our lives. Immediately when I looked at this as a farmer, I said, now I know why extra stress under farmers and ranchers is because most other individuals, those 8 dimensions may be different parts of their life. So their social life is different from their work life. You know, their income is different from their environment. Their financial is different from their physical. But as farmers and ranchers, it's all tied into one. So when we hit that stress, we don't have that resiliency of another dimension that we can lean on. And so I think that's really what adds that need to have that understanding of why it is so difficult with farmers and ranchers. Next slide. Next click. And so this is what our hope is that we really do make this an occupation of hope, because I really do believe that's what farming and ranching is. And we really need to ensure that that's the attitude that we maintain even through times of stress. So next slide. I think that's it. So really, again, thank you so much for all you guys' support in this area, and anything we can do in your communities, don't hesitate to reach out.
I just like to really put in a plug for Larry Brown and they've really, he's just gone beyond.
Yeah.
And working with Mercantile Headwaters Land Trust as well and kind of combine things and.
Yeah, Larry Brown and Jocelyn has been a big help for us as we're organizing this summit. It's amazing when you start to reach out to communities, how many people really want to be engaged, and that's what's really rewarding to do this work. Oh, yeah, question, Pauline.
Hi, Robert, thank you so much for presenting that. I selfishly requested this because serving on Annie's project, I'm on the curriculum committee, and this is a topic that we're coming up with, and I really wanted to tap into your resources. So thanks for such great information. And are you going to share your slideshow with us?
Well, yes.
Great, because that last diagram was amazing. Second thing is hi, Liz. Sorry I'm not there to see you. I know Liz, got to know her real well when Kent was working with FSA, and her and I had a lot of conversations, and she was kind of Kent's right-hand person. So it's good to see you aboard with BHA, and congratulations to your hire. So thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. Anything else? I think that's it.
Okay.
Sorry, I have one question. Sorry. Are the work group members, are those potential resources?
The worker members are variety. Some are just there because of their lived experience with it. So some are service providers and some are not. Yeah, the list and on the slideshow, I'll make sure to give a link to the website that has who they're associated with. And then all of our meetings are open to the public, and then also you can view them afterwards. They're recorded and on the website too, so you can listen to them later.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Oh, one more thing, can I?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No problem.
Just a brief update, if I may, on the water side. Something that's going to be happening is that at the C9 Summit, base roundtables are working through what they're called low and no regret scenarios. And the first topic that they're really going to be discussing leading up to the next IBCC meeting, which will be in June, is agriculture and aging infrastructure. So I'll try to keep up to date on what the roundtables, if it's on their agenda and if it's in your area, and if you have some interest, log in and provide comments, because I think this is a great opportunity. This low and no regrets scenario building, if the idea is then that will be the priorities then that CWCB will look at. So funds that CWCB has could be prioritized based on what the IBCC develops on this kind of needs assessment. So kind of keep an eye on that as well. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I had, Mr. Chair, I had one more question for Robert, if that's possible. This is Colleen.
Yes, go ahead, Colleen.
Am I allowed to beg, borrow, and steal from your resource list to share with other states?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
So there's a question.
go ahead.
Riley asked if you, I'll send out information on low and no regrets in the packet. And this is all verbal as of now, so there isn't any printed material. This is just in our work with CWC and what we're developing. So as it becomes publicly noticed, I'll try to remember.
Just so it's not on us to
Right.
go find it.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess too, that reminds me is that on the water side, I'm gonna kind of be backing off of attending some of these meetings, the water meetings. So I'm really gonna need to rely on you guys that if you hear about water topics or issues that CDA should be involved with, don't hesitate to reach out. You know where I'm at, you know my contact information, so please reach out. Thanks. Thank you. Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
no, thank you. It moves right into the next topic, discussion of CDA priorities. And I know between Jordan and Hollis and Commissioner Greenberg and also Robert, a lot of information. So I don't know if anybody has anything else to add to those topics that we discussed on priorities. Seeing none, there was a lot given, so I think we got a lot of priorities. Okay, moving on. I think we'll go ahead and take a break. It's now 11. We'll just convene back at 10 after 11, if that's fine. Gives everybody a break to make some phone calls, get something to drink, do something. So we'll reconvene at 10 after.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
Right, that's-
Oh, really? Let's go. Walk into that space. I think we're back online.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
For like 30 seconds, and then we'll then go into.
Started here, Hollis.
Yes,
You would,
Simon,
please.
thanks so much. Commissioners, we're gonna lead right into fruit and vegetable inspection fees, which is in the ICS program. And Mark had the unfortunate timing of walking by and I grabbed him here. And I just wanted to introduce everyone to Mark Gallegos. Everyone knows Mark, but Mark is the one that's overseeing the custom meat processing program. I've updated him, Catherine and Harrison and others on the issues. We're on point and we'll definitely be connecting on that. So thanks everyone, but I just wanted to put a name to the face.
Hi, Mark.
All right, so then Mark, we're gonna hand it over to Brian Polly for these for potatoes.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Action fee increase for fruit and vegetable inspection program. Brian. Welcome.
Morning, everyone. First of all, I want to apologize. I wanted to make it up there and meet you all in person today. I've had some staffing changes that kind of prevented that today. So sorry I couldn't see all of you in person. Just give you a little background on me for those that don't know me. I'm Brian Pauly. I'm the section chief program manager for the fruit and veg inspection with CDA. We have a satellite office down in Monte Vista, Colorado in the San Luis Valley. We provide size and grade inspections for all the commodities across the state. The biggest one is potatoes through marketing order 948. Those are mandatory inspections that we perform. We also do food safety audit verifications for produce and handlers across the state. This last season, we provided 81 certifications for food safety audit verifications. We also do some phytosanitary work in agreement with Plants Division. Most of that phytosanitary work is for potatoes destined to Mexico. That's actually roughly about 13% of the San Luis Valley crop that goes to Mexico every year. So a lot of work being done there. Staffing usually, we got the program manager, 2 field supervisors, an accounting technician down here. And when we're fully staffed, we have 31 inspectors. With that recent change, though, we're down to 27 inspectors, which is not good for our Thanksgiving rush right now. So with that, I'll just start in, give you a little background on our fee increase. I think everybody should have that in your packet, the proposal with the red line version. What we're going to do there. I just want to tell you a little bit leading up to how we got here. Back in 2013 was the last time we increased fees. That was roughly a 12.5% fee increase. That was due to cost of living raises and just inflation with overhead and just doing business. We knew these step increases were going to come. That came here in July of 24, where all state employees receive step increases for years of service in their classification. That impacted our program pretty bad, and it was hard to go to the industry with another 12.5% fee increase when we just imposed one in 2023. So we had several stakeholder meetings. I have an inspection advisory group that I meet with industry members down here in the San Luis Valley. I meet with Area 2 and Area 3 Colorado Potato Administrative Committee board members monthly. Up in north, it's quarterly. And talking with the members, they wanted us to gradually increase these fees. They just come off of one having 12.5%. So if there's anything we could do, raising these in small increments, and that's what we're doing here. I took this fee proposal to the governor's office this summer. We got approval on it in September 15th of this year. This is the last step in getting this through, as I need to present it to the Ag Commission here. I brought it up at our last CPAC meeting with the Area 2 potato growers at the board meeting on October 16th. There was no opposition to that. They understand that this is a cost of doing business. This is what we have to do to get this implemented to continue to provide these services. We've looked at other options to help mitigate that a little bit too. With the step increases, the 3% cost of living in 2024, the 2.5% this year, that had an impact of we need to generate $353,000 to compensate for these raises. A couple of things that we've done to help mitigate this a little bit is in our fee schedule is we can charge mileage. So we implemented charging mileage last year, which generated about $100,000 in revenue. We're actually working with, I heard Aldo come up earlier with H2A housing inspections. We have our accounting tech doing H2A housing inspections and a little bit of free time that she has in the afternoon. So that generated $6,000 for the program. We're trying a couple of hybrid positions this year. We do multi-inspection work now. So doing the small scale certification, egg enforcement, fertilizer, pet food, all that good stuff that the multi-inspectors do. We created 2 positions here where these guys will go and do the multi-site work when we have some downtime, because there's certain times of the year where we have downtime and we got guys sitting around waiting to go do an inspection. Well, we figured we're going to give it a shot and work this in with some of these other programs, and that's what we've done. That brought about $77,000 to the program by giving these guys a little bit more. These 2 individuals that took these positions had to give them a little bit of a raise to do the extra work. Cost about $20,000, so it's actually generating $57,000 to the program. So we're making up a little there. With the fee proposal that I've given you today, that should generate roughly around $110,000. So if we add all those up, that's going to bring us in $273,000. We're still roughly about 80,000 short, but we do have some money in reserve, and we didn't fill one of our positions this year to help alleviate some of that. And then next year we'll probably be coming with another fee increase so we can get caught up. But these are all going to be small increases. The challenge that we have too is I just seen that it's proposed that there's going to be a 3.1 cost of living raise put in legislation this year. We don't know if that'll go through or not, but that's proposed. If we do get that cost of living, we're not really gaining any traction. So we'll be coming every year with a fee increase, unfortunately, I think. With that, is there any questions before I dive into the actual red line version of the fees?
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, wait, we do
Go
have
ahead.
a question from
Thank you.
Harrison. Harrison has a question.
Harrison?
Hey, Brian, thanks so much. Yeah, just like as a producer, you know, I think it's good to know that it's just going to cost a little bit more every year. And, you know, you think 3 to 4% every year, or do you think you'll ever be able to provide that sort of consistent number so growers can just sort of start building it into their budget?
Yeah, you know, we'd like to do a consistent number so we don't have to increase the fees as much. With our fee schedule, it's user based. So size and grade, we have to change the fees this way. Now, there's so many outside factors that influence this. It depends on the amount of acreage that's planted every year to the number of potatoes that we're going to inspect. Normally, we inspect right around 16 million hundredweight a year. So I can kind of gauge on that. But if we have like a year this year that's setting up, we don't know if we're going to inspect that full 16 million. Demand's down. We had some issues at the beginning of harvest with some rot, so bins may be dumped. So that all takes away from what we might inspect towards the end of the year. We try to manage that with staffing levels too. I would love to get there to where I could set the fees once every, 4 or 5 years, and then we revisit it. But we had a real small reserve limit that we could have set there for a long time. And just a couple of years ago, we got that pushed through so we can have a higher reserve limit. But when we don't have any money in reserve, it's hard to get there. And so we're kind of behind the gun trying to get our reserve back up as well too. And with the services that we provide for you, Harrison, like we do a lot of food safety audits, those are all set by USDA fees. And those did go up after we done your audit. We don't set the fees for those services. It's just size and grade. And there's roughly one up about the same, I think. And they've been going up about $8 every year. We went from 163 on audit services to 171 in October 1.
Cool. Thanks for that clarification.
Yep.
Any other questions for Brian? Otherwise, move into the red lines, Brian, if you would.
Okay, so the fee proposal that's in your packet there, you can see that we'll go from our current fee is 13.5 cents. We're going to go to 14 cents, which is roughly about a 4% increase. Dollar amount, we charge $47 an hour. We're asking to go to 49 with roughly about a 4% increase. The overtime charge and the sublight charge is going up $1 per item. We get into contractual inspections. The minimum rate for a contract right now is $1,560 a week. That's to guarantee that we have an inspector for you. You sign a contract. That's going to go up about 3%, which is running up to $1,600 a week. Or the 11 cents a hundredweight, whichever is greater, that's going to go up to 11.5 cents, which is roughly about 4%. On the national average right now, we're still kind of below that. Just to give you an idea, there's some states out there that charge anywhere from 12 cents a hundredweight to 18 cents a hundredweight, average 15.8 cents a hundredweight. And we're still well below that at 14 cents. The hourly rate that other states charge, like Washington, Michigan, Minnesota, they range from $58 an hour to $75 an hour. Average $65.66 an hour. We're still way below that average rate for other states with inspection fees. So we like to try to keep it at the lower end if we can. But with our operating expenses going up with the salaries, this is where we're at and where we need to be going. Plus, the governor's office will only let us raise, current inflation rate, and they actually let us go a little bit above that this year. So I think the current inflation was 2.7, and they're letting us go with a 4% fee increase this year. There is another fee on the back of that. That's the alternative inspection program. We currently don't have anybody on that. Give you a little background on that. That would be CAPE, which is Customer Assisted Inspection Program. That's where they would have their own inspector and QC in their warehouse, but they have to be trained by USDA. And then we go in and do auditing to make sure that what they're recording and what they're finding, we're finding the same things. The issues we have with trying to get that program going is the industry is in the same boat as the rest of us. You have to find that personnel to do that. Plus, you're going to have a backup inspector if that person's out for vacation, sick, whatever the case is. So the industry probably really wouldn't save any money by going to an alternate inspection program, because instead of them paying us, they're going to be paying their own inspectors in-house. But we do offer that in case we ever did have that happen. That rate would go from 5.5 cents a hundredweight to 5 3/4 cents a hundredweight. I believe Tara's listening in. She's the executive director of CPAC. I'm not sure if she wanted to mention anything with our meetings that we've had with the growers over the last couple of years. There has been no opposition. Again, like I say, they're happy that we're just doing small increments instead of going through with a full 12.5%.
Yeah, hi, can everybody hear me?
We can.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Yes, Brian's been very engaged here at CPAC. We see him at least once a month, if not more, and we appreciate that open communication. Our guys do understand it. It is the price of doing business, and we're getting it from all sides right now. I'm not telling the room anything they don't know with production costs, but we also know that Brian's crew does a fantastic job. He is absolutely essential here in the Valley. He has connections and sees things that we don't always see, or people kind of want us not to see. So it's always great to have that independent third party view, but also just another set of boots on the ground to be able to disseminate proper information, proper working protocol, things like that. So Brian, I will say we really, really appreciate what you're doing, because you are being asked to do more with less. And our guys really see that. We appreciate you trying to keep the costs low, but your hands are kind of tied in this particular instance. So having that smaller increment was something that the producers saw as necessary, and at the very least they could adjust accordingly on their business scale. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Tara.
I'd just like to reiterate kind of what Tara said too, and just the wonderful job that Brian and his team do down in the San Luis Valley doing all the inspections for potatoes. And he and his team definitely go above and beyond and make sure that they're there on Saturdays and whenever we're packing and shipping potatoes. So they do a fantastic job. And yeah, just everybody that I've talked to is fine with the fee increases, and just glad it's not 12% and we can just go up a little bit at a time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, any other questions for Brian at this time? Seeing none, it is an action item and there has been a suggested motion. If we're ready to go there right now.
This is Jeffrey McCullough, finding that these changes are necessary and proper to carry out the provision of the fruit and vegetable inspection program. I move that the commission adopt the fee increase as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Jeff, second by Dr. Amanda Weaver. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Brian and Tara.
All right. Thank you all. You all have a wonderful day now.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item, would be the Sweet Potato Act Advisory Committee member appointments. We've got, Cheryl here, and I'm not sure if Ingrid is online. No?
He's in another meeting, so.
No, I was, I got here fast, didn't I?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I am Cheryl Smith. I am the CDA administrator for the Seed Potato Act and the Late Blight Quarantine. The Seed Potato Advisory Committee is part of the Seed Potato Act, and it was approved to continue with the last sunset review that went into effect back in September of 2019. The committee is integral in helping to advise the potato industry in the San Luis Valley on issues that are facing them at the time, as well as this committee also reviews and approves exemption requests to the seed certification process, which is also exemption requests are allowed under the Seed Potato Act as well. Last year, we had some rule changes to the Seed Potato Act, of which was involving what we call plant back or year out potatoes, and setting the PVY limit on what would be allowed for those plant back potatoes. So this committee will now be tasked with setting that yearly standard for what the growers are going to be allowed to plant back. And then that would be put up to the review for the commissioner. So it's a very important committee. The state is divided into 3 areas. Area 1 is the West Slope, which at this time, we do not know of anyone doing any commercial production for potatoes. Area 2 is the San Luis Valley, which is the primary potato growing region. And then Area 3 is the northeastern part of Colorado. So the committee does consist of 9 members, 4 growers from Area 2 that do not grow seed potatoes, 1 grower from Area 3 that does not grow seed potatoes, 2 growers who are on the Colorado Certified Seed Growers Association, 1 CSU representative, and then we have an at-large position, which was a change that was made back in the last sunset review, where this position will have an emphasis on Area 1 if we do end up with a commercial grower in Area 1. But until that time, it is filled with a grower from Area 2 that does not grow seed potatoes. And so I've presented before you we had 5 coming up for review this year, and you have those. Would you like me to go through that and not now, or do you have that in front of you, or what would you like me to do?
If you would you go through that?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Okay. So this year we had Jason McCoy, who is a potato grower from Area 2, and he was only in his first term. I should have stated earlier that the terms are 3 years, and they are allowed to serve 2 consecutive terms in a row, and then they have to at least sit out for 1 3-year term if they would like to come back on later. So we had Jason McCoy, and he was in his first term, and that expired this year, and he agreed to stay on for a second term. And then we had Roger Mix, who is a potato grower from Area 2 in his second term, and he is being replaced by Jed Ellithorpe. And his first term will expire in August 2028. Would you like me to read their bios at all, or you have that? So, okay. And then we had Grant Mativi, who was on the Certified Seed Potato Growers Association in his second term, and he is being replaced by Derek Schreck, whose term will also expire in August 28th. Harry Strohauer was in his second term, area grower from Area 3, and he is being replaced by Tad Strohauer. That term will expire in August 28th. And then Tyler Mitchell was filling the at-large position in a potato grower from Area 2, and he is being replaced by Clay Mitchell, which will then expire in August of 28.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl, any questions for Cheryl? Okay, being an action item, there is a suggested motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is Colleen. I move that the commission appoint Jason McCoy, Jed Ethrup, Derek Schreck, Tad Strohauer, I apologize for messing up the names, and Clay Mitchell as members to the Seed Potato Advisory Committee as recommended by the Potato Health Program.
This is Jeff McCullough. I'll second that.
All right. Motion made by Colin, second by Jeff. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carried. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you very much.
Back to the beach.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Okay, the next item, Bureau of Animal Protection, VAP agent confirmations. Dr. Dell.
Hi, thank you very much. Appreciate the time on the agenda for the consideration of our newly commissioned BAP agents. We have 2 to present to the Ag Commission today. And excitingly, one is in a pretty remote county where we are hoping to expand some BAP coverage and support. So it's good to see some of these other counties coming in. I have for consideration, and all this should be in your packet, if anybody has any questions about the approval process or the application process, please let me know and I can address those today. But our 2 agents for consideration by the Ag Commission are Coleman Cox, who is currently employed as an animal protection officer in La Plata County Humane Society. And we have Aaron McCloy, who is currently employed as a CSO animal control officer in Longmont County. So thank you so much. I'll take any questions if there are any, and if not, we can move forward.
All right. Seeing none, there is a suggested motion on this action item.
Chairman, I move that the commission approve the commissioners' appointments of Coleman Cox and Aaron McCloy as presented by Dr. Deal and Joe Stafford at the to be agents of the Bureau of Animal Protection.
I'm Amanda Weaver and I'll second.
Okay, first by Jeff, second by Dr. Weaver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Okay, all opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carries. So at this time, it looks like we're done and ready for lunch break. So it's 11:40 and we'll be back at 12:40. All right, break. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gill. And we will start with commission member updates. So if I have any one that would like to go first. Jeff?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, down in the San Luis Valley, there's quite a bit going on. We'll kind of start with the water and the aquifer. So we at the end of this season, we were the lowest that we've seen our aquifer. We were about, I'd measure all the wells across my farm and we were about 0.3 feet below the lowest level that we've been since we started recording water, the aquifer water level across our farm. So thankfully, we got that really nice rainstorm and ditches turned on and every water right on the Rio Grande was in priority. So that was fantastic. So with that, it's really good to have no problems to our infrastructure. All the dams were okay, all the head gates were okay. So everything on our side of the hill did really well with the floodwaters. Potatoes. Potatoes are very challenging. This is the most challenging year that I've come up with so far anyway. Prices are the lowest that I've seen them since I've been doing this. And then talking to some of the marketers, the last really bad one was in 1989 that was worse than this one. So this is the worst one that we've seen in a long time. So due to this oversupply of potatoes nationwide, everybody had a really good crop. So we're in for a doozy this year. Along with that, the processor that burned down this last year, they decided not to rebuild at all, just not financially feasible to do. So we're in the same situation that we were last year, having to find a home for all the cold potatoes. We think in the San Luis Valley that there will be about 1 million hundredweight worth of potatoes that don't have a home that need to go somewhere. So I'm working with livestock producers and I'm kind of trying something on my farm to chop up potatoes and get rid of them. But it's something that we're going to have to work on as an industry for this year to not have a problem come June when the seed lot comes into effect. My goal is to not have a coal pile on the ground June 1 is what I really want to see. So it's kind of what we need to do as an industry. I'm really glad that there's a lot of work being done behavioral health wise down in the valley. Thank you, George, for doing that, and Larry. There's a lot of kind of low demeanor with a lot of what's happening in agriculture down in the valley right now. Barley's similar, just not very profitable, and so we're kind of struggling down in the valley to find a good commodity that's profitable for the farmers. So like George said, cattle are doing really well still, so really happy for that. Yeah, not a whole lot of positive things from the valley, unfortunately. So any questions potatoes wise, or I was going to also mention the seed advisory committee, and all the potatoes have been submitted for testing this year, and this is a year that we're going to kind of come up with a standard for that potato seed law. So the group of people that are sitting on that committee are very good people and kind of with diverse thoughts. So I think we'll be able to come up with a really good solution for and a good standard for our seed potatoes there in the valley. So I'm excited about that. So
thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
We'll be talking a lot more
Okay.
on potatoes.
Yeah. Did you get the video I sent you?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, I'm got a potato shredder that I'm working on. So
Okay. Love to talk about
hopefully gonna help out.
We're also bringing in our markets team to see if we can help on that side, apart from the quarantine side of the work.
Yep.
See if we can do a little market
Yeah,
expansion there.
I sure hope so. We've been exploring biofuel options or other processor options, and we kind of have a few things that work against us, with the natural gas only being about 50% efficient up at our altitude. We're at 7,600 feet. So dehydrating potatoes costs double the amount at our altitude than it does at sea level. So there's a few things that are a challenge, but I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Maybe coal.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Simon, I can go next.
All right, thank you, Councilman.
So after our really dry summer, a bunch of people moved cows off their summer permits due to lack of water and springs drying up. Some people have culled fairly heavily because of lack of winter grazing out in the desert. Unfortunately, that rain that everyone got here on the Western Slope came a little late to save anybody's, feed sources for the next little bit. The only thing that went well is because we haven't had a hard freeze out here, our low has only been 32. A bunch of people took a fourth cutting off their pastures. And so they just finished up baling this past week. So I'm still haying in November is pretty unusual. Um, I was talking to people that were direct marketing beef, and with the high beef prices, it seems like they're losing customers because of the cost of buying halves, quarters, and wholes. That includes, of course, increases in processing costs. I know the processing costs across the Western Slope are probably averaging $1.40 on the hanging weight. So that's getting a little prohibitively on top of the cost of cattle. So people are getting, between $4,000 and $5,000 for a whole, processed cow right now. And also the high cattle prices are going to slow down the herd regrowth because everybody's not thinking about retaining heifers or buying heifers or cows because of the price volatility issue. No one knows whether we're going to stay here and make those cows pay for themselves, in a reasonable amount of time or not. So I'm not seeing a lot of people buying cows. There are a few, myself included, that are keeping heifers back. We'll see if that's a good strategy or not. It is super tempting to sell them on because they're worth so much right now. But looking into the future, we're trying to grow a herd. So keeping heifers. And again, it's like, sorry, there's not a lot of good news except for that fourth cutting of hay. Hay prices, I think, are about average. They haven't really gone down, and they haven't gone up. So that was, but again, feeding your cattle for long periods of time never makes a lot of sense. And that's about, I was down at Regenerate and toured out in eastern New Mexico doing some grazing planning for folks. And man, those people got a lot of rain through the summer, and everywhere out there it looks really good. And the other thing that was heartening to travel around out there is so many people are doing regenerative grazing practices and really doing a good job, and now are very hopeful to be able to maintain through future droughts with a good ground cover and some more practices that they've adopted. So that's I guess is the good news. Good to see you all. Sorry I couldn't be there today, but after being gone for a week, didn't feel like I could leave again. So I'll be there next time.
Thank you, Catherine.
Simon, this is Colleen. I can go.
Thank you.
Well, I'm back in Iowa, like I was last time, I think, at last meeting, and I'm fixing superheroes. So I thought I'd give you a little lighter side here. I'm here being a grandma, and I'm repairing Spider-Man as we speak. In Colorado, what I can tell you is sugar beets are out, the pile's less than it's ever been, and I think that's because fewer people are growing sugar beets. There's been a lot of field work going on in the fields because there hasn't been a whole lot of moisture, so everybody's getting ready for the winter and the spring. In here in Iowa, I don't know if I've ever told y'all, but my daughter's a lawyer, and she was sharing with me, we were talking about the shutdown and if I would have a flight coming home tomorrow and things like that. And I do, I just checked in. So on my phone, I have a flight. We'll see if I have one physically. But we were talking about the shutdown, and she shared with me, and she said that she was involved, she does estate planning, and she was involved with helping a family with an estate sale of their farm. And the sale went through, but the buyer was getting his loan through FSA. So everything has been stopped because they can't get their money to buy this farm that they were wanting to buy. So it just shows you all over the place how the shutdown is affecting everybody. And I just thought that was an interesting anecdote to share with you a little bit. I'm like I said, I'm really sorry. I had plans on being there, and then grandma got called, and Kent and I have both decided that when they call and they want help, we'll be out here to help them out. Peplars are doing some changes. As you know, Kent's retired. Mark your calendars if you want to come get some equipment. We're having a farm sale February 14th. And so Ken is at home. Our son's hopping out to the farm periodically, helping, get things listed and everything. And if you want, when they get everything online and everything, I'll share that with you so you can see what's available and whatnot. But big change in our lives, big emotional change for someone. So, but you move forward as you move forward with our lives. Good to see you all, and I hope to see you in person next time.
And Colleen, just so you know, we received your package and that's been distributed today at the meeting. So thank you for sending that.
Great. Yeah, I promised you all one of those books, and if you didn't get one, we'll leave them at the office. But it's the Corn, Cattle, and I can't remember what it was called, Corn, Cattle, and but anyway, the Matsushima from CSU. So enjoy, share that with whoever you would like. Thanks, Mara.
Hey, Simon, this is Dave. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, David.
I can go next. I apologize. I'm actually at the airport right now. I'm traveling to a aunt's funeral, so been kind of going through some things here this morning, but I apologize for not being on the whole time. Out our way, still quite a bit of harvest to go yet. Some guys are wrapping up. Some guys are just getting started on the corn side. There's a little milo out yet, a little dryland corn. Of course, it's a busy time of year for cattle. Everybody's starting to wean or move cattle from summer grass to winter corn stalks, etc. Everybody's concerned about the markets, really taking a tank there as well. As far as some of the activities, 2 months ago, I guess it was, I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to Omaha and attend a Federal Reserve Board meeting. There were, I believe, 5 to 6 Federal Reserve Boards there from basically they kind of called it the Midwest, Southeast part of the United States. So there were all kinds of occupants there, from bankers to ag producers, tree, timber people, again, bankers, Federal Reserve, economists. But it was quite a deal there, 2-day meeting. Learned a lot there, and also very sit down across the table type deal, and got to talk to people in our industry and told them what the ag sector is like out our way. Also, a lot of water board meetings going on in northeastern Colorado right now, working on things to do in the future, maybe having to change fee structures and things like that on some of our water. We were fortunate to get a very nice rain in October there. Actually, it was September. Very good for the wheat crops, everything in general, grass, everything. So that's kind of, I think it also helped make the corn harvest a little later and things as it matured later. It also kept the sugar beets growing and things like that, which that part of the harvest is done our way, but I think there's still 2 growers going in Colorado, and they should wrap up this week, I think. So sugar beet harvest will be wrapped up. So just watching the piles and the temperatures now to keep everything under control there, especially the ventilation. I think that kind of covers everything. I also apologize for not being there. I was able to listen in a little bit here. Wish you guys all well for Thanksgiving and everything coming up here, and looking forward to see you on the next one.
Okay, thank you, David.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
I'm Amanda. Let's see, things are coming to a seasonal close at my farm. There are fewer chickens and to-be turkeys. There's no pardoning ceremony at Five Fridges Farm. But it's interesting, even with the beef prices as they are, it's really all meat, because I sell organic birds, and I can already see that people aren't wanting to pay the price that normally is out there. And so it really gets me thinking about how do we sell Colorado beef? How do we sell Colorado meat? How do we get the public really interested in understanding those, having a local product and the importance of that. And so yeah, so I'm just things are getting quieter at the farm. How's that? Less bird noises and just getting packed up and ready for winter activities. All of my goats have come from their summer pastures as well down the street at in the park system and are back at the farm. And then I'll start breeding again in January for little goats and more milk in the spring. So that's what's going on the farm range here.
And I have to say, I did love seeing when we walked out back in your property with the right of way adjacent to the school and just having met the goat herd with just so gregarious and fun to hang out with. The fact that you get all those school kids coming out to see the work that you do, interfacing with the farm right there in the city is really, really neat.
It's a lot of fun. It's sort of the best way to pull people into ag right there is when you have that opportunity to talk about, people love goats. It's easy to sell goats. But it's a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for coming out yesterday. It was a lot of fun.
You tell everybody a little bit about the other meeting that we had on your place yesterday?
Oh, sure. We had a meeting of the Urban Ag Specialty Group, or what is that the
Urban Ag Specialist, we have.
Specialist, yes.
Small urban ag program.
And just really had a chance to bare my soul on some issues that we face as urban producers. It was a really, really thoughtful discussion around how to think about, because I think a lot of the things that the barriers that are in the urban environment for producers are largely in the codes that we face, the urban codes, as far as all well-meaning, but when people also want local food, we have to figure out how that actually works so that it makes sense. Because I think just one example is a lot of people don't know that urban producers oftentimes don't have access to water rights. They're using domestic water and are charged the same amount as the residents next to them for watering those vegetables or whatever, or in my case, animals, things like that. So it was a really great conversation, and I'm looking forward to what will come out of that. Yeah. Do you want to add anything?
No, I just appreciate you hosting that conversation.
Yeah, no,
it was with our urban ag specialist, Nikki, who oversees the state conservation board, as well as Evan was there, and myself and Robert.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll go at this time. Just a couple of things happening in Southwest Colorado. All the cattle are home, and we had our cattle sale, one of the bigger ones, and it went well. Beef prices, like you said, are still up. Hay prices are hanging. All the other commodity prices, corn and wheat are down. But it's been like that for a few years. Input costs are still the same, but those prices aren't going up for some reason. Just on another end with the tribe on the Water Resource Committee, we had a change in chairmanship. Mr. Hart had been involved for about 20 years. But we have Chairman White Skunk has taken over as of last Friday. Don't see any really major changes. His background still, a lot of it was with the ALP project when it was going through the Midnight Horse Campbell Reservoir. So things on that end, and there was 4 other changes within the council itself. So it's always interesting, just like our election, either statewide or nationally. But we've been working with Congressman Hurd's office trying to finalize. He's on the Native Americans Affair program for some grain bins that we've been after for a few years. Just needs a signature, but it's got to be a verbal from DC. Nothing that our regional director from BOR, Wayne Pollard, can help with. So it's something that we're waiting on. It hasn't affected us, this government shutdown. NRCS office has been closed, which has been part of our micro hydro unit process, but we're hoping word on the street is Monday, everybody may be going back to work. We'll see if that's still pending, if they can go back. I did get a phone call today that the tribe with their SNAP program would like some help with some commodities. So I'll work on that with them through the next couple of days on some milk, potatoes, eggs, beans, and bluebird flour to help them subsidize the tribe. It's one of those deals, other duties as assigned as I move forward. But bow and arrow's doing fine. They're getting a lot of new customers interested in the non-GMO portion of the mill. The farming aspect, we ended up with 13,500 acre feet after starting off the year with 5,000. So it's a big plus on our end being able to lease shares from MVIC that had never been able to be done in the past. And I'm working with local farmers that for some reason are pulling out owning shares, that I'm able to purchase some shares for the tribe, which helps them long-term wise on their water needs as we move forward. So that's been going well. The hay, like I said, we are shipping 20 to 30 loads a week, which helps us with our revenue input. And the hay is there. If we had more, we'd be able to sell it. But we are noticing the larger dairies are starting to grow a lot of their own product next to their dairies. And we still have a niche in New Mexico and Texas with our high relative feed value hay, which we're able to push that direction. They're using a lot less, but we still are able to sell them for their mix to help them still be able to produce what milk they do have or any other commodity cheese that they have. Otherwise, we're sitting at a pretty much empty reservoir for now, but we have a long winter ahead of us. So hopefully the water allocation will be in our favor next year as we go through the winter months. So we're just settling in with the cattle. We are looking at some type of specialty crops next year, small grain, to subsidize if we have less water. How we're gonna go about not using all 7,600 acres, but maybe 5,000 to 6,000, and always have some land that will not be farmed. But we're looking at some white waxy corn, some teff for the cattle, and some interest in the area for local co-ops that would like for us to clean and provide seed to them. So that's just another option that we're gonna try to go into. We'll always have hay. It's our biggest commodity, but it uses the most water. But we can't find another crop that'll compete with what the hay can provide financially. So it's kind of where we're at in the Southwest. Yes.
Question for you. What was the barrier for you leasing water before?
I think just the communication that's opened up between possibly farm and ranch, which is on tribal land, with non-tribal farmers up north, and us being basically the only ones of size that can afford to purchase. Now, there is a lot of people purchasing shares, but there's almost becoming a bidding war on what you want to purchase a share for. They used to be in our area 4,000. Now they're averaging about 7,000 a share, and there's people that are willing to pay 9 to 10. Now, I was able to get some funding through the tribe to purchase some shares for the tribe, and I'm trying to stay within the dollar amount that we think we can get. And there are individuals that are wanting to sell their shares, but they don't want them to leave the valley. They want them to stay in the valley. They don't want any to start moving downstream, which is very understandable. So there's a lot of individuals that are retiring and they don't have children or people that want to go back into the farming industry. So they're releasing their shares, and there seems to be more line of communication now between the tribe and non-tribal to keep the shares within the valley. And that's where it's coming up to where some are up to 10, 20. And does that mean less farmland? I don't know. But there's just not as much interest, I think, because of what it takes to farm, and behavioral type agriculture is becoming an issue with the younger farmers, I see.
Simon, is there a set of bylaws that could be modified or to prohibit the transfer of water out of the system.
Now, you're talking like downstream?
Yeah, I don't think I understand exactly how you lease or what your situation is, but like a lot of canal systems, you can't sell the water from the land, you know, it has to stay at
Right.
that, you can't sell your shares.
There was that issue because they figured that farm and ranch, and those of you who've been down there, it wasn't part of the farming system because we were outside the area. But it was decided by MVIC, who has the majority of the rights in the valley, approved that farm and ranch is part of the system itself. So the canal that they feed was a verbal between the Bureau of Reclamation and MVIC and DWCD to allow the transfer of water south instead of north. But it was still within the system. We're not considered full service farmers at Farm and Ranch, just an O&M portion. So we pay for operation and maintenance. But we kind of consider ourselves full service farmers because we are farming, but it's still part of the valley, how it was set up and how the Dolores Water Conservancy District maintains and monitors that canal system, that we're able to now move shares south of Cortez. And they were always just left north of Cortez. But I think through time, them realizing we could utilize the water and still leave what water is available in the reservoir, but allow us to be able to lease it, not purchase it. But now we've crossed that line of being able to purchase shares for the tribe that they'll have forever, as long as there's water in the reservoir. It's a different system, you know, than what, it's open canal.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have Harrison.
Okay, Harrison?
Thanks so much, y'all. Things are slower around these parts. Hopefully it'll be a short and sweet report. Let's see. Generally speaking, I think the apple crop was down this year across certainly at our farm, but anecdotally that's what I'm hearing from everybody is that short on Honeycrisp, you know, short on most things. A few varieties did well, but generally speaking, a shorter apple crop, which for us meant a shorter fall, which was kind of nice, honestly. The we just passed the deadline for negotiating the new rules for the upper basin and lower basin water use. What that means, I think, still is a little bit unclear, but I don't think it's good news. We are, you know, it just puts a lot of instability in the system. It was a short water year for the likes of us and for others around this area too, this year as is. And so, you know, I know we're out hunting, trying to figure out what how to stabilize our water situation. And with a potential compact call or even just this passing of the deadline to come up with new rules for managing the river, it really just makes, whether you're talking about buying water or buying real estate or leasing or making long-term decisions, it really just has added a whole level of instability into the system. So that's really top of mind for us this year, coming out of this year. I think shutdown has had its impacts on everybody, though we're, you know, I other than SNAP, and loss of SNAP funds, I have not heard from anybody that something truly disastrous has resulted. But to Colleen's point, the idea that the rest of the world keeps on ticking and anybody that's involved in federal money gets held up, I think remains a really true point that really hits home. So anyways, that's the news from over here. I think I'll keep it short, like I said.
Thank you, Harrison. Is Elena on?
She's not.
That was the last one. Okay, I did want to mention, I forgot to mention, one of CDA staff, I believe, is down in our area tomorrow. Sandra McDonald? Familiar? She's doing a pesticide training tomorrow.
Okay.
Down in our part of the world, Basin Co-op.
Wonderful, great.
Okay, moving on. I believe that's everybody. Bless you.
I don't know if we want to backtrack, but Nick is on now.
Yes, sure.
That's an update.
Nick, are you on, Nick?
Hi, everybody. I am, but I'm probably not in a really good position. I'm driving to Moscow right now to do aggregation potato warehouse. So short and sweet, if you can't hear me. Pueblo has wrapped up, of course, especially crop season. I think everyone was really happy with how this spring and summer and into fall went. We're still harvesting corn. We've got lots and lots of cows on pumpkins. That is for real, the real deal. I haven't heard much from anybody with complaints on anything or bringing up too many concerns. So a lot of local groups were advised by Extension about this lovely screwworm and the potential for something happening in 2026 in the southern region because of elevation and where it could be coming in from. So there is conversation about that. Outside of that, having farm tours, about to bring back some coming of age heifers to add into the mix at our dairy, which is thriving. What else? Oh, we hosted a poultry processing workshop on Sunday that had a really good turnout for people to learn how to do that on their own. And yeah, launching some new software this week on Friday with the food hub that I'm at. So excited for that. And yeah, just continuing to go to meetings, keeping my ears open. Sorry I can't be there, but I'm usually really good at keeping the pavement warm. So appreciate y'all and happy Thanksgiving in advance.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, moving on. I think that's everyone. We'll move on to the 2026 draft meeting schedule. Mary?
Well, I have a draft meeting schedule within your package. If you have anything that stands out regarding the dates, please let me know. I did try to avoid Veterans Day next year. So that pushed us a little bit later, in November. So hopefully not too bad with weather for those traveling. But also wanted to gauge and see if it wasn't an issue to overlap the holiday, we could always move it back, but kind of just throwing out some dates. Don't have in-person locations yet, and I'm not sure if we want to chat about that right now as well. But is there anything that stood out as conflict? Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know, Farmers Union Conference is always that Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the week before Thanksgiving. So it would mean that I would be in this meeting and then leaving, and that might be an issue for others who are also trying to
Okay.
Is that because that meeting will always be here in Broomfield?
Right. It's not necessarily an issue for me, but it might be an issue for others who, I mean, it tends to be along this corridor somewhere, but I just thought I'd mention that.
This year it's in Wyoming, but I think next year, Amanda, it might be back in Greeley, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
They might move it to New Mexico, bounce it around.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it. I don't need it to move, but others might. I don't know.
That's a good flag. Farm Bureau is always the same time as
Yep.
well, that following weekend, so for folks to travel here and then home and then back here
Yeah.
in the same week might be a lot.
Don't they always overlap? The Farm Bureau, like the same weekend as farmers?
Yeah, but if people have to be here on Wednesday and then have to come back on Friday
Oh, versus staying here.
versus staying here or spreading out the trip.
Or would we be opposed to having it the weekend of Veterans Day and then doing maybe that Wednesday, Thursday?
I think we should probably avoid a state holiday if we can, just for state staff and maybe be able to provide support to you all, ideally.
Well, I mean, like Forum Wednesday, meeting Thursday,
Yeah.
avoiding that Tuesday.
Well, it's on Wednesday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's because it's always the 11th.
Gotcha, it's not the day of the week, okay. So we could, I don't know, what is everyone's thoughts on that then?
This is Catherine. I like to go to farmers union meetings, but I don't like lengthening the stay. I'm away from home. So if it stays on that date, I would definitely be virtual again on November 18th.
Feedback on that?
We open to moving it to not a Wednesday, but a Tuesday or a Thursday option. Maybe not Thursday of that same week, but if we look the week before. To the mayor's point, like moving it to a Thursday.
That works for me.
Thursday.
Yeah, me too.
So let's move it back to the Veterans Day week and just alter the days. Sound good? Okay, got it. Anything else that stands out for the other dates?
Any idea on the in-person, on location dates?
I don't.
What do y'all want?
Yeah.
Where should we go?
I want to hear from
Oh.
that, I thought.
So again, this year we were Toyac and Cortez, the southwest corner, and then Rifle to Beck on the western slope. This board has been to Yuma, to the valley. I think Jeff, you've hosted us in the valley. Did we go out to Nick's neck of the woods? Watkins?
I have not, but
We did. I don't remember what year that was.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Could have been in the southeast in a minute.
I've been to.
Yeah, so we don't have to go to anybody's hometown on the commission, because we've probably exhausted your hometowns by now. So maybe just thinking statewide where we haven't been, that we want to hit, where you think there might be like big issues we want to go, talk to local folks about that would be relevant to the commission. We're obviously, as long as there's internet and a boardroom, we're open to your ideas.
I know.
I think I brought this up. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Harrison.
Oh, you haven't exhausted Delta County. We ain't seen nobody for a long time.
That's right. Yeah, we negotiated with Harrison on this one last year, I think. Yeah, so.
Since I've been on the commission, I have not been in Southeast. So I would entertain get that.
A North Fork Valley and a Southeast Colorado.
And the Northern Front Range.
Yeah. I think the Northern Front Range would be really good as well. So much change is happening. And there, there's and now my mind is escaping me. The new water part up in the northern part of Fort Collins area. Hidden, smoky. I can't think what it's called. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Smoke.
Smoke. My mom's just like.
Hollow smoke.
What is it called?
Can we just not be in the southeast when the tarantulas are on the move?
No, no
promises. October meeting, I think that's a migration season, right? Really? Yeah. I think it would be great. It's great, but We can honor your wish just.
No,
Go camping.
Yeah, I think it sounds awesome, but I'm just
They don't
terrified
tend
to
to
stay
take
overnight
over,
somewhere.
they don't tend to take over the buildings though, right?
My little boy was carrying one around and then he handed it to his little brother and he was trying to be tough until it like rubbed its teeth on his arm. Then he freaked out.
Oh, I'd freak out.
Those are hypothetical teeth, by the way.
Saying there won't be tarantulas, not saying there will be.
Okay,
Hey, can I, for this suggestion is southeast. One thing that was suggested at the state fair board meeting was to see, they would love to meet this commission and this commission to meet state fair. Could we go to Pueblo for southeast for consideration? And have a joint meeting, you know?
That would be cool.
I think that'd be
Yeah.
great. When we had the joint meeting with the water board, that was really,
Yeah, I'm envisioning something like that.
I like that idea.
Maybe with the 250, 150, we'll have a good idea of what they're doing at the state fair and maybe make a connection on that.
Yep. I'd probably think the March one for that.
I think whatever, definitely not the September one or the July
Not
one,
the
yeah.
July.
Yeah, it's something away from, I would say away from the fair, yeah. And being in the state fair in the wintertime is kind of fun. It's kind of spooky a little bit.
tarantulas.
No tarantulas.
Harrison, how would that July 22nd in Delta County look for you?
It really depends on the year. If we're picking cherries, that's a real tough. It'd be fun for you, more
Good for
fun
us.
for you guys, but tough for us. You know, it's probably as good as anything. So I think we could do it, and if there's a non-growing season or a non-harvest season date that also fits better, that might be good. But I think we could probably pull off a July 22nd.
Well, not to throw a monkey wrench, but we don't have to stick with the 2 on location options. We could consider adding a third as well. And then, we'll talk about what that means, but we'd be able to absorb that. And if we wanted to move Delta to, let's say, September and a northern front range in July, we could look at that.
And, just Jordan can refresh our memory, but aren't we now statutorily required to, I'm sure we're gonna fill it, but we have to do outreach and engagements across the state. Ag commissioners, I'm sure this checks that
This
box.
fulfills, yeah. Yeah, so this would be above and beyond the statute. Yeah.
So with that, Harrison, would September work better?
Oh no, I'd rather July 22nd than September.
Okay. Or May.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we have a tentative plan, right?
Yes, and we can get a draft out
Yeah.
and the follow-up, and then if anybody has, final edits to that, get it back to Amara and we can fine tune and get that confirmed.
Thank you for your feedback. And then what I have, the only other thing I was gonna flag is the conflict of interest form, and you can sign and get that back to me. And if you aren't present, if you can email me that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Mara. Next is bylaws review.
Yeah. Thanks, Simon. This one's quick and easy. We don't have any recommended changes to the bylaws. Our bylaws do say that we review the bylaws at our annual meeting. And so we're open to any recommended changes. See George, thank you. But none proposed. Anything from the commission? All right.
No tarantulas.
No tarantula. We can see about adding those in right now. That was that item. Yeah,
Thank you. Next is office elections.
great. Our annual meeting is also when we elect officers. And as you'll recall from our bylaws, essentially the way it works is that at our previous meeting, we selected a committee of 2 commission members who conferred with me individually as to who they would like to nominate for serving this next year in officer roles. So that was Harrison and Catherine, both volunteered to be on our nominating committee. I had conversations with both of them. I tried to gauge the willingness from the group as to who would be able to serve as officers. And I believe in our bylaws, officers are able to serve up to 3 years in a row, if I have that correct. Billy can double check, but certainly 2 in a row. I think it is more than that. That is feasible in our bylaws. So anyways, with that, this is a vote, but I'll hand it over to Catherine and or Harrison here in a minute just to discuss who they would like to nominate. We will need a motion and a vote at the end of the discussion. And again, this is for chair and vice chair to serve between now and next November's annual meeting. So with that, Catherine and Harrison.
Harrison, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I don't have the thing that I should say exactly to the T in front of me.
I don't either, but that's okay.
Okay.
So this is Catherine, and Harrison and I would like to nominate that we keep our current slate of Simon and Jeff as our chairperson and vice chairperson for the upcoming year of 2026.
That is a motion.
I'd like to set.
Go ahead, Harrison.
It's just. Did you actually make that as a motion?
Yes,
I'd like
yes.
to second that.
Okay.
Just.
If you'd like to open for discussion, you're more than happy to. And we certainly can take nominations on the floor during this discussion time as well.
Any discussions needed before vote? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion made by Catherine and a second made by Harrison. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
David.
Seeing none.
David has his hand up.
Okay, David.
Sorry. Hopefully that was a delay.
Okay, we have opposed.
We'll never know what it means.
Okay. All right, so,
Yes, sorry, if you can hear me, that was a yes.
thanks, David. None seen, motion carries. Thank you.
Congratulations
you all.
and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks you guys for being willing to serve another term.
Okay, moving to board and commission annual training. CDA overview, Jordy.
Nope.
All right, so I'm gonna cover kind of the public portion of the board and commission training, and then after this, you will all, if you choose to do so, vote to go into executive session to get legal advice from your attorney, Bill A. Sieber, which will be kind of a much more in-depth portion of this. So just kind of letting you know that in advance that this is going to be fairly quick, and then a lot of the detailed questions you might have about your roles and responsibilities, things like that, covered later. And I'm pinch hitting for Madison, so middle of race on this one. So this training is required every year. Again, Billy might have some more to add on that later. But I'm just going to give kind of a high level overview of the department, some of the things that we're working on, and feel free to ask any questions as we go through this. So the department is made up of 9 different divisions, as well as the commissioner's office that serve various functions. You're all very well aware of that. The commissioner's office kind of serves as the central support staff for all of our different divisions. Which are the plant industry division, headed by Juan Radner Brew, markets, headed by Amanda Laban, laboratory services, headed by Eric Petty, Inspection and Consumer Services, headed up by Mark Gallegos, who was here earlier. Our Conservation Services Division, headed up by Evan Cabinets, who was here earlier. Colorado State Fair, whose general manager is Andrea Wiesenmeyer. Our Brands Division, headed up by Todd Ingley. Our newest division, Animal Welfare, headed up by Joe Stafford. And finally, the Animal Health Division, headed up by Dr. Maggie Baldwin. The department has put together a strategic plan, which you have heard about on many occasions from Hollis. So I'm just going to kind of touch on it very, very briefly, since he's gone into in depth over it numerous times. But our strategic plan, again, kind of covers those dates of 2024 through 2027. And this is really a kind of a living document that we're working on here at the department. So we set it up initially in 2024. But we're constantly updating it as we're moving forward and completing tasks and kind of refining it as we move forward. The strategic plan, again, probably all heard this, but has 5 different directions that kind of encompass the work that we do here at the department and all of the people that we serve in the state. Those are people in community, marketing and economic productivity, environmental stewardship and climate resilience, animal health and welfare, and internal operational improvements. So everything within our strategic plan falls under kind of one of these 5 directions that we're focused on in the department. In addition to our strategic plan, we also have wildly important goals for the department. These are, again, the very, very high level priorities that we're focused on here at the department that oftentimes do kind of cross some of those different directions that you see within the strategic plan. Again, we talk about these quite often, but right now we have 5 different wildly important goals. So expanding market access for agricultural businesses, developing agricultural leaders, advancing the Colorado Water Plan, non-lethal wolf conflict reduction and carnivore management, and then providing education on animal mistreatment and livestock theft. Again, a lot of these goals are multi-year goals, but we kind of revisit them every year to make sure that the measurements we put in place to try to achieve those goals are still accurate, still make sense. And so again, all of these things are designed to be kind of living, working goals. Bring it forward.
And if I can, I mean, I kind of shorthand these to what we've focused on over the last 7 years, which aligns here: market expansion, next gen, stewardship, soil, water, climate stewardship, and our animal health and welfare. So sometimes you hear me say those headlines, and these are where we really get nitty gritty on how are we actually going to move the needle in the big tent picture items.
Then very high level from the department's perspective, for our fiscal years that we're currently in, that started July 1st, the total budget for the department is a little over $77 million. Again, of that, about $50 million is cash funds. So think fees that come in from various services that we offer, license fees, registrations, things like that. So that's the bulk of our budget. The next biggest chunk comes from general funds. So this is taxpayer dollars that come into the department to support different programs. And so there are different divisions that have more or less of their overall budgets kind of carved out of one or the other. And that often depends on there is kind of, again, that fee paying base to support those services. So for example, plants division relies heavily on cash funds, whereas our markets division relies heavily on general fund dollars. We also have kind of 2 other funding sources that are reflected in our budget. One is federal funds. And so in the long bill, that reflects that we get about $4.7 million this year from federal funds. That's not all inclusive of all of the federal funds that come through the department. That's only the federal funds that are required to be noted within the long bill. So there are additional funds that will come to the department and will issue back out to producers or other parties that don't get counted in that. So the federal funding is actually higher than that. And then reappropriated funds essentially that is where, a lot of this happens within the commissioner's office to provide additional services. So programs within the department will essentially cover the cost of the commissioner's office services. So think HR, business operations, a lot of those services are actually paid for by all the different programs, but they come to the commissioner's office through this reappropriated process. And then just kind of wrap things up here, we usually touch on kind of the difference, very high level difference between type 1 and type 2 boards. So we have both of these within the department. You are all a type 1 board. This means that you are kind of administered under the direction and supervision of the department and the commissioner. However, you have specific statutory powers, duties, and functions, which you are the ones that have that power invested in you. So you are the decision makers on that. Whereas type 2 boards are more kind of all of those statutory functions, duties, powers are under the direction and the supervision of the commissioner, which means essentially they can make recommendations. Ultimately, the commissioner is the decider. But as type 1 boards, there are specific things where you are the ultimate decider, which is why we often come to you with specific motions and say, we would like for you to approve us to do this thing. And again, Billy can go into the specific duties of the Ag Commission in his section a little bit later. And that's it. So, does anybody have any questions on that, or any other questions about the department as we're going through this? Great. Well, I think at this point that will conclude kind of the public portion of the board and commission training. And so the next step would be the next item on the agenda.
Okay, the next item is going into executive session, annual compliance training. Do we need a motion there?
We do, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Okay, there is a proposed motion.
This is Catherine. I move that we go into executive session.
This is Amanda, I'll second.
Yeah, Catherine, I think if I could amend your motion a bit, you are moving to enter executive session pursuant to section 24-6-402-3A2 CRS to receive legal advice from your counsel regarding Colorado's open meetings law, Colorado Open Records Act, and conflicts of interest.
So amended.
That is a friendly amendment.
Okay, motion made by Catherine, second by
Amanda, I
Dr.
second,
Weaver.
Amanda
Okay, second.
seconds.
Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I just have the record reflect that we have, it looks like 7 members who have voted on that,
Okay,
so.
7 members in favor with aye, all opposed, same sign. None seen, motion carries. So we'll move into executive session with Billy.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you need a second? Yeah.
All right. All right. Hi, everybody. We're back again real quick here. Just wanted to let everybody know, especially those members of the public that are in attendance, that we are going to go into executive session here shortly. However, the business portion of the meeting has concluded, and so there will be no more decisions made after the executive.
Again.
Thank you, Coffee. Okay, going back into open session, open discussion and final comments. If there's any that. Okay, seeing none, I will motion the meeting to be adjourned at 2:31 PM. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We do something. Thank you.